Chapter 391. Dimensionality Reduction. This is the scene that often appears when Xander faces other technologically backward planets. But now, Rog used an unscientific but very magical portal to let the members of the diplomatic mission experience the feeling of dimensionality reduction. Under the orderly arrangement of Chief Military Officer Roman Day, the members of the diplomatic mission walked into the portal one by one and returned to the New Star Corps headquarters on Xander. When the portal appeared on the first floor of the New Star Corps headquarters building, a team of fully armed New Star Corps soldiers rushed over. Then they witnessed the appearance of the members of the diplomatic mission one after another. From the first member of the diplomatic mission entering the portal to Rog entering the portal last, this retreat operation took less than 5 minutes. However, in less than 5 minutes, the mana in Rog's body was completely depleted. Once again he experienced the physical and mental exhaustion brought about by the exhaustion of mana. Although the consumption was a bit high, it was all worth it. Bringing the members of the diplomatic mission safely back to Xander means that his commission is more than half completed. He only needs to get the reward promised by the New Star Supreme, and he will also get 200 ninja coins from the system. I have brought the members of the diplomatic mission back as agreed. You can start preparing the commission reward. 3 days later, I will receive the promised reward. After giving Roman Day enough time to prepare, Rog left the New Star Corps headquarters building with Pietro and Daisy and returned to the bright Starry Sky Hotel where he previously lived. The several suites that were previously booked are still in service, so after returning to the hotel, Rog and the other two returned to their respective suites. After returning to the suite, the first thing Rog did was to take off the dark green uniform of the New Star Corps and change back to his original clothes. Then he summoned the latest game console of the Carry Empire that he bought on Hala from the Psychic Scroll. But before he began to enjoy the game of the Carry Empire, he first called the front desk of the hotel and asked the hotel to prepare a delicate and expensive enough lunch. Although there were some console games on Earth that were produced very well with high scores, they were limited by the current technology on Earth. The console games on Earth were unable to provide players with an immersive and realistic experience. However, to the technologically advanced Carry Empire, this was not a problem. After putting on the language translator produced by the Carry Empire, Rog put on the dark sci-fi virtual reality gaming helmet. For the next 3 days, Rog used his actions to prove what it meant to be unable to extricate oneself from the game. In those 3 days he did not leave his suite at all. Like a paralyzed patient, he wore a gaming helmet and lay on the sofa in the living room all day. Apart from some necessary daily activities, all of his waking time was spent playing games in the Carry Empire. At first, Pietro didn't quite understand Rog's idea. However, when he put on the gaming helmet he quickly succumbed. 3 days passed in a flash, and when the agreed time to receive the reward arrived, Rog reluctantly took off the gaming helmet, left the hotel alone, and went to the headquarters of the New Star Corps. After receiving the promised reward, I'll go back and clear Rise of the Empire 3, then I can start playing Origin of the Universe. Fighter Hero is also not bad, but there's no way to play online, otherwise it would be a good game. Roger, who was sitting in a reception room, patiently waited for Roman Day's arrival and planned the next step of his plan to clear the dungeon. At first his mood was very happy. After all, he was about to receive his reward and the ninja coin reward from the system. However, as time passed, his mood gradually changed from joy to dissatisfaction. An hour, now he waited in the reception room for an hour. When will Centurion Roman Day come? I've been waiting here for an hour. This was the 3rd time Rog urged the staff in the reception room. I'm sorry, Mr. Rog. We just received the latest news. Centurion Roman Day received the latest order from the Corps and is now going to the front line of the battlefield. He can't come to receive you. The female staff in the reception room answered with a standard smile and tone. Set off to the front line of the battlefield? Forget it, it doesn't matter if he doesn't come, I just want to know when I can get the promised reward. Rog suppressed his dissatisfaction and continued to ask. I'm sorry, Mr. Rog. We can't inquire about your reward for the time being. The green-skinned female staff continued to answer with a standard smile and tone. Can't inquire? At this time Rog has realized something. Then can you contact the New Star Supreme? I want to meet with the New Star Supreme directly. I'm sorry, Mr. Rog. You don't have the authority to request a meeting with the Supreme for the time being. It was the same standard smile and tone again. He doesn't even have the authority to request a meeting with the New Star Supreme. Rog understood everything in an instant. This time he encountered a renege again. Seeing that you're just a basic staff, I won't make things difficult for you. Now, I'll give you a warm reminder, you have 10 seconds to leave here immediately. I'm going to kill someone. When he said these words, Rog's face didn't show any anger or dissatisfaction, and he said with a smile, I'm sorry, Mr. Rog. Lightning release, lightning palm. Before the female staff finished speaking, Rog raised his right hand and aimed at the door of the reception room, and 5 or 6 arm-thick silver-white lightning surged out of his palm. Rumble. Strong thunder and a huge explosion sounded at the same time, and the silver-white lightning entangled with the orange-red fireball produced by the explosion. You have 5 seconds left. This time Rog didn't hear any of those formulaic answers. He only heard screams of fear. The staff in the reception room screamed and left, and Rog moved his wrist, summoning the Kusanagi sword that he hadn't used for a long time. He didn't expect that after he had made a name for himself, there would still be someone who dared to renege on his debt. Moreover, he had used such a despicable method. After summoning the Kusanagi sword, Rog casually waved the sword, and then walked out of the passage. The new Star Core. This is a powerful core that is famous in the universe. What Rog wants to do now is to single-handedly destroy the new Star Core headquarters building. Chapter 392. The guards in the headquarters building came quickly. Rog had just stepped out of the reception room destroyed by the thunder palm when he saw the fully armed guards in dark green uniforms and simple armor. A standard 6-man squad with standard explosive rifles, no heavy firepower. Rog glanced at these guards and instinctively made a simple judgment of the enemy units in his mind. Put down your weapons. Put down your weapons immediately. Looking at Rog, who was strolling leisurely, the captain at the front of the squad immediately shouted, You think you're qualified to make me put down my weapons? Rog replied with disdain. He was in a good mood today. For a gamer like him, the console games of the Kree Empire brought him the most enjoyable and pleasant mood in recent times. However, today's debt-reneging incident had completely destroyed his hard-earned good mood. The target has obvious resistance, permission to shoot on the spot. The captain made the decision to shoot Rog on the spot. But before he finished his order, Rog, who was more than 10 meters away from them, swept past them like a ghost. These guards didn't even see the afterimage left by Rog. Their necks were cut by the Kusanagi sword in Rog's hand. Bright red blood sprayed out from the wound like rain. Rog didn't plan to talk nonsense with these guards. Although he knew that these guards were just fulfilling their duties in a battle, their position was different from the camp, which was enough reason to take their lives. In the reception room he spared the staff because they were not soldiers. And now, even though the guards he killed were ordinary basic personnel, they were warriors. They were enemy soldiers who had raised their weapons against him in battle. When the guards whose carotid arteries had been completely cut fell to the ground one by one, Roger casually took the communicator from the last guard while he was still barely able to stand. I don't care what reason you have for refusing to pay me what I deserve. But your decision makes me very angry, very angry. There has never been anyone who cannot pay me. New Star Core not, New Star Supreme not. After saying this in the public channel of the New Star Core, Rog crushed the communicator in his hand and walked straight towards the elevator. The New Star Core did have a strong reputation in the universe, but he never put them in his heart. The New Star Core was strong, but the strength of the New Star Core was that it was a well-equipped army with a large number of people. It wasn't because of a single person. But Rog was different. The reason why he was strong was because of his own strength. Rog's speech in the public channel was immediately transmitted to the ears of all the guards in the headquarters building, including the mastermind behind the scenes who tried to not pay him. What do we do now? He doesn't seem to have any intention of holding back. In the command room on the 75th floor of the New Star Army headquarters, the guard commander of the headquarters said to a man in his early 30s, What are you afraid of? He's only one person. Even if the accuser Ronan is here, he won't be able to leave the building alive. If Roger was present, he would definitely be able to recognize this arrogant Carry man in his early 30s. This person was none other than the civil official of the diplomatic mission that he taught a lesson with his Sharingan. He's not the accuser Ronan. He's the man who defeated Ronan twice. Chris, this is just a personal grudge between you two. I can't let the headquarters building fall into a crisis because of your personal grudge. I'll be court-martialed. The guard commander of the headquarters building voiced his concerns. No one will let you go to court-martialed. This is also my father's decision. Otherwise, why do you think Roman Day received a temporary order to go to the front lines? I can tell you directly what his reward is. After hearing it, you should know why my father supports my plan. 500 sets of Star 4 series power armors, 35th generation new Star fighters, and various top secret scientific documents. The guard commander couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air after listening to Chris's words. Whether it was the Star 4 series individual equipment or the 5th generation New Star fighters, they were all the latest top-notch armaments developed by the New Star Corps. Even the main force that was currently fighting the Carry Empire only had a small number of Star 4 series power armors. As for the 5th generation New Star fighters, they were the latest generation of fighters that had yet to enter service. It's unbelievable that Prime would give these equipment to an outsider who doesn't belong to the Corps, and he even used a commission as a reward. The news of Rog accepting Prime Star's commission as a military officer of the diplomatic mission was spread out after the diplomatic mission returned to Xander. In the past few days, many people were curious about what kind of reward Xan Xing Supreme offered for Luo Guo, a powerful existence who had defeated Luo Nan, the Accuser, twice to join the diplomatic mission. However, the guard commander of the headquarters building never imagined that Prime Star's reward would be strategic materials like the Star 4 power armor and the 5th generation New Star fighter. After knowing the specific content of Rog's reward, the guard commander finally understood why Chris's father, the chairman of the military council, would support Chris's revenge for a personal grudge. Taking revenge on Rog was just a matter of convenience. What they really wanted was the Star 4 power armor and the 5th generation New Star fighter. In the short time that Chris was talking to the guard commander of the building, Rog had already broken through the 3rd floor of the security force and arrived at the 8th floor from the 5th floor. Looking at Chris, who had a ferocious smile, and then looking at Rog on the monitor screen, the guard commander of the building finally made a decision. From now on, issue a black intrusion alert. Dispatch all guards to annihilate the intruders in the headquarters building. The guard commander issued the highest level of command in the public channel to annihilate the intruders. The entire headquarters building immediately rang with an ear-piercing alarm, and red warning lights in every corner of the building lit up at the same time. At the same time, the staff in the headquarters building began to evacuate in an orderly manner. The important people with higher positions were also escorted by the guards and left on the aircraft on the roof of the building. Not long after, only the guards and Rog, who had just arrived at the 10th floor, were left in the headquarters building. In order to successfully kill Rog, the guard commander of the building issued a black intrusion alert that had never been used since the construction of the headquarters building. Chapter 393. The black invasion alert was issued, which meant that the only way left for the commander and Chris was to successfully kill Rog. If Rog is killed, with the ability of Chris' father, not only will they not be punished for this operation, but they will also be able to successfully obtain the reward that originally belonged to Rog. Of course, if they fail, the consequences will also be very serious. First of all, the commander of the guards will be court-martialed. Secondly, Chris may die. Finally, Chris' father, the Speaker of the Military Council, will also be strongly impeached by the Supreme Nova or other political enemies. However, Chris and the commander of the guards didn't think that they will fail. This is the headquarters of the New Star Corps, where the strongest guards in the entire Xander are stationed. If even these guards can't deal with Rog, then there are basically not many troops that can deal with Rog. Rog didn't care about the sirens that came one after another. He still maintained his initial leisurely posture and walked slowly toward the top of the building. Now he has reached the 10th floor of the building and defeated several guards that came to stop him. Although the overall quality of these guards is quite good, they don't lack experience and strength. But the problem is that the strength gap between them and Rog is too big, so big that they can't even understand it. Nova energy, this magical energy that can greatly strengthen the New Star soldiers, in front of Rog, is completely ineffective. No matter how these guards use this Nova energy, there is only one ending, and that is, their lives will be completely ended by Rog's Kusanagi sword. Although these guards are trying very hard to stop Rog, until now they haven't forced Rog to use offensive ninjutsu. In addition to the initial lightning palm and the body flicker technique that he used from time to time, Rog basically used simple taijutsu to deal with these guards. Although these taijutsu attacks look simple for these guards, these seemingly simple attacks are fatal. However, relying on continuous attacks like moths to the flame, these guards finally stopped Rog's footsteps a little, slightly slowing his pace. Are the guards of the New Star Army headquarters only at this standard? As the battle progressed, Rog's evaluation of the New Star Army continued to drop. Originally, he thought that these guards with Nova energy would be able to display some dazzling strength. However, it turned out that the strength of these guards was not as good as the Umbu members of Konoha's intelligence agency. In terms of attacking methods and killing efficiency, his Dark Group members were several levels higher than these guards. The only thing that made them inferior to these guards was that the number of members of the Dark Group was much smaller. With these guards dying one after another, Rog successfully reached the 20th floor of the building. Then it took a little time to reach the 30th floor of the building. Because they were inside the building, it was impossible for these guards to mobilize fighters or heavy energy cannons to attack Rog. The emptied building became Rog's stage, a bloody stage where he could fully display his killing skills. Rog's unstoppable advance was finally stopped when he reached the 36th floor of the building. At this time, the enemies he faced were no longer ordinary guards using blasters, but third-level warriors who were proficient in using Nova energy to attack or defend. According to the classification of the New Star Army, the third-level Denarian Army warriors have 75% of the strength of a centurion, and also have the ability to fly. Although this was the classification of the New Star Army, after killing who knows how many guards, Rog knew that this so-called 75% of the strength of a centurion was just a superficial statement. To be precise, the third-level Denarian Army warriors have 75% of the Nova energy of a centurion. The guards that were killed by Rog before were second-level Denarian Army warriors. According to the classification of the army, they should have 50% of the strength of a centurion, just that they can't fly. However, after really fighting, Rog discovered how unreliable this statement was. If the guards that couldn't even block his sword had half of the strength of a centurion, then the New Star Army would have been annihilated by the Carry Empire long ago. These guards didn't have half of the strength of a centurion, but half of the Nova energy of a centurion. For a long time, Rog believed that energy was energy and strength was strength. Energy was a part of strength, but it wasn't the entire strength. Take Rog for example. Although he had never used Nova energy before, as long as he was given 10% of the Nova energy of a centurion, even if he didn't have any chakra, he was still confident that he could kill all the soldiers below the level of a centurion. Energy was just a weapon. How to use this weapon to quickly kill the enemy was the standard to determine whether a soldier was good or not. Finally, some decent people have come. Seeing that you are unarmed, I won't bully you with weapons. After saying that, Rog threw the Kusanagi sword back into the summon scroll. At this time, there were only 3 guards in front of him. Although their attire was no different from the guards he killed before, Rog didn't see any weapons on them. Whether it was firearms such as blasters or cold weapons such as sabers and daggers, they didn't have any. The moment the Kusanagi sword disappeared from Rog's hand, the 3 guards didn't hesitate and immediately launched an attack. Their bodies shone with the golden light that Rog had seen from Roman day. Facing the attack of the 3 guards, Rog didn't retreat, but attacked them at the same time. Just when Rog thought that the 3 guards were going to fight him in close combat, their fists suddenly shone with golden Nova energy. Then these Nova energy shrouded their fists and attacked him like cannonballs. Young man, you don't have any morals. These 6 golden Nova energy attacked Rog's different parts at the same time and blocked several of his escape angles. No matter which angle he dodged to, at least 1 or 2 of the Nova energy would hit him. Since his opponent had already unleashed an energy attack, Rog naturally wouldn't be so foolish as to use his physical body to block it. With a thought, a layer of light blue chakra instantly covered his body, giving him a 360-degree energy armor with no blind spots. Boom, boom, boom. The 3 Nova energy first hit Rog's chakra armor and exploded like a bomb, bursting with a dazzling golden light. Chapter 394. The power of these 3 Nova energy is not small, it is already close to the power of a rocket. But even so, these 3 Nova energy did not penetrate the chakra coat on Rog's body, causing him any substantial damage. However, the shock wave generated by the explosion made his forward posture stop, and his whole speed suddenly slowed down. His speed slowed down, but that's not the worst situation. The worst thing is that the dazzling light generated by the explosion created an effect like a flash bomb, making Rog instinctively close his eyes. So this is the idea from the beginning? If the enemy these 3 guards are facing now is not Rog, then this sudden flash attack is enough to determine their victory. But unfortunately they are not facing an ordinary enemy but Rog. Not long after he crossed into this world, before he mastered enough ninjutsu, Rog once had a favorite tactic. A secret killing tactic based on genjutsu, dark sneak technique. Although he has not experienced the feeling of being completely deprived of his vision by genjutsu, he is good at secret killing tactics, so he naturally knows how to face this kind of attack from the dark. Losing his vision will not have much impact on him, especially in close combat. Almost at the moment when he closed his eyes, he gathered chakra in the nerves of his ears, stimulating the ear nerves and greatly improving his hearing. At the same time, his amazing combat intuition and combat experience honed over the years also made up for the impact of the loss of vision for the first time. Although he can't see with his eyes, Rog clearly perceives the movements of the three guards. Whether it is their route of advance or attack trajectory, it is like a three-dimensional image in his mind. The left attack is the fastest, a straight punch, the target is his head. The right attack is the strongest, a side kick, the target is his torso. The middle attack is the slowest, a heavy punch, the target is his chest. In the blink of an eye, Rog had determined the attacking methods of the three guards and instantly formulated a counterattack strategy. Retreat half a step, avoid the straight punch on the left, and seize the target's left arm. Break the target's left arm, and destroy the target's center of gravity with the left leg. He bent down and pushed the target on the left, dodging the side kick from the target on the right. Heavy punch to the head of the target on the ground. With the target's head as the center, heavy punch to attack the standing leg of the target on the right to destroy the stability of the target on the right. He got up and punched the unsteady target on the right with a right hook, sending the target on the right flying and causing it to crash into the target in the middle. Taking advantage of the situation, he quickly attacked the middle target's head, chest, and throat with quick punches. He continuously pushed back the target and finally finished off the middle target with a monster strength punch. This entire set of counterattack strategies took less than a second to completely emerge in Rog's mind. In the next few seconds, Rog executed this counterattack strategy perfectly. Boom. When the guard in the middle was sent flying by the monstrous strength fist and crashed into the wall behind him, Rog opened his eyes. The sudden flash attack should have allowed the three guards to completely seize the initiative of the battle and even secure victory in one fell swoop. However, things did not go as they expected. Not only did Rog not fall into the situation of being besieged by the three of them, but he also severely injured two of them and instantly resolved the situation of being besieged. It wasn't until the guard in the middle was sent flying that the guard on the right, who had not been attacked much, finally stood up and looked at Rog in disbelief. Although he didn't know how Rog did it, he clearly saw that Rog's eyes were always closed during the fight. With his eyes closed, he resolved the joint attack of the three of them and severely injured two of them. The guard finally understood why Rog's invasion was classified as the highest level of black invasion. This was simply not something a human could do. He was a fighting machine with a humanoid appearance. Don't be so surprised. There are many people who can do this. I know a blind top fighter. The blind top fighter in Rog's mouth is none other than Daredevil. Speaking of Daredevil, Rog suddenly found that he hadn't paid attention to his news for a long time, and he didn't know how he was doing now and whether he was still fighting against Kingpin in Hell's Kitchen. You guys rely too much on Nova energy and advanced weapons. If you continue like this, you will forget how to fight in close combat sooner or later. Looking at the shocked guard, Rog gave his own advice. The remaining guard did not refute Rog. After thinking about it, he helplessly found that what Rog said was true. You can think about this problem later, I'm in a hurry now, so... As soon as his voice fell, Rog took the initiative to launch an attack and attacked the guard like lightning. Although the guard tried to resist Rog, the huge gap in strength doomed his resistance to be meaningless. 3 seconds later, the guard was hit in the chest by Rog's monster punch, and he flew out upside down, spitting out bright red blood from his mouth. After dealing with the guard, Rog did not stop at all and continued to walk towards the upper floor of the building. 40 floors, 50 floors, 60 floors. Although the guards in the building tried their best to stop Roger and kill this menacing intruder, they couldn't do anything about it. However, their efforts did not get the report they imagined. The number of guards decreased rapidly at a terrifying speed, but Rog's advancement was not affected in any way. Mobilize the Imperial Guards, we must mobilize the Imperial Guards, and now only the Imperial Guards of Supreme can stop him. Looking at the godlike Rog on the monitor screen, the guard commander of the building said loudly. The guard commander was not the only one who lost his composure. Even Chris, who was originally arrogant, had an ashen face at this time. He never thought that Rog could really break through the endless siege of the building's guards and walk step by step to the top floor of the building. This is impossible, this is absolutely impossible. Even if it was a centurion of the New Star Legion, it was absolutely impossible to defeat all the guards of the headquarters building alone. This was simply not something a human could do. Chris's rank in the New Star Legion was not low. Although he walked the path of a civil official in the Legion, he was very clear about the strength of a centurion of the New Star Legion. It was precisely because of this comparison that he placed his hopes on the guards of the headquarters building. But it turned out that Chris underestimated the strength of the New Star Legion centurion, and also underestimated the gap between the centurion and Rog. Chapter 395. On the 75th floor of the Nova Corps Headquarters Building, Security Command Center. Just because I taught you a small lesson on Hala, you want my reward? At this time Rog was holding the blaster he took from the guards of the building, and under his feet was Chris, who just wanted to escape but was kicked away by him. The reason why Rog suddenly came from the 60th floor to the command center on the 75th floor and kicked Chris under his feet was because Chris was sure that the guards of the headquarters building couldn't stop him. Looking at Rog, who has come to the 60th floor and showed strength far beyond that of a supernova Corps Centurion, Chris made the decision to leave the headquarters building immediately. As the initiator of all this, Chris knows very well what will happen to him if he falls into the hands of Rog. In the Hala Guild Hall, he just scolded Rog and was taught a lesson by Rog with Sharingan Genjutsu. If Rog found out that he was the one who had plotted all of this and caused Rog to be unable to successfully obtain his reward, then he would definitely end up in a worse state than before. Therefore, Chris planned to leave the headquarters building immediately and get away from the madman Rog completely. But he didn't expect that before he walked out of the command center, the floor of the command center was penetrated. At this time Rog, who he didn't want to see the most, flew up from the hole in the floor. Then he was sent flying by Logue's kick and stepped on by Logue. No. I'm not, I didn't, don't talk nonsense. After hearing Rog's question, Chris didn't have time to care about the pain in his chest and immediately denied it. Really? But I don't believe it. While talking, Rog raised the blaster in his hand and fired a shot at the invisible right back. Whoosh. The green explosive bullet accurately hit the guard who was hiding in the corner and trying to shoot in the dark. It was a headshot. It's really not me, I just didn't have time to evacuate the building. Chris explained with great emotion, but Rog didn't believe a word of his explanation. Whoosh. Just when Chris was about to continue to explain, Rog fired a shot at his right leg, and the green bullet directly penetrated his thigh. Ah! My leg is broken. Since he was a child, Chris has never felt such bone-piercing pain, and suddenly issued a harsh scream. Your leg is not broken yet, but if you don't shut up, I don't mind fulfilling your little wish. Rog looked at Chris, who was stepped on by his foot, with an impatient look on his face. He originally thought that the person who dared to his reward would be a little shrewd and a little domineering. He didn't expect that when he came to the command center he actually saw Chris, this guy. In the beginning he only wanted to blow this matter up and let the people of the New Star Army understand the consequences of reneging on their debt. However, when the security commander of the building issued the black intrusion alert and evacuated all unrelated personnel from the headquarters, he suddenly realized that he seemed to have found the location of the mastermind behind the scenes. When all unrelated personnel were evacuated, the only people left in the headquarters, according to common sense, were the guards of the building and Rog himself. However, when he used chakra to sense the situation in the building, he found that on the 75th floor of the building, there was a life form without Nova energy in his body. As everyone knows, the soldiers of the Nova Corps, whether it is the medics who just graduated from the Space Academy or the highest-ranking Centurions, all have Nova energy in their body. A person without Nova energy in his body, after the black intrusion alert was issued, not only did he not evacuate, but he stayed in the security command center of the headquarters. This abnormal phenomenon aroused Rog's curiosity, and it also evoked some of his memories. During the days when he was a private investigator, he had studied criminal psychology. Some criminals like to return to the scene of the crime after committing a crime and gain a sense of control and satisfaction by witnessing the panic of the crowd and the reaction of the police. Especially for some particularly serious crimes such as serial killings, it is even easier for the criminals to return to the scene of the crime. Even if it has been many years, these criminals will return to the scene of the crime and recall the specific details of the crime to gain a perverted sense of satisfaction. At that time, Rog didn't know that the person in the command center was Chris, but after discovering this abnormal phenomenon, the first thing that appeared in his mind was this theory that he saw in his research of criminal psychology. Then he thought about it carefully and found that his guess seemed to be correct. If it was because someone was dissatisfied with him or wanted to take his reward, then the mastermind behind the scenes would be in a safe place, or a place that he thought was safe, watching the whole scene. Unless the conditions didn't allow it, otherwise the mastermind behind the scenes had more than an 80% chance of doing so. After all, watching how he suffered setbacks and even how he died would give the mastermind a sense of satisfaction that everything was under his control. After discovering, or rather confirming this point, the next step was very simple. Rog followed the plan, going up floor by floor, destroying the mastermind's plan bit by bit. In order to not let the mastermind notice the danger in advance, he deliberately controlled his pace to avoid scaring the mastermind away. Because the plan was going to fail bit by bit, the mastermind behind the scenes would not leave immediately. Instead, he would look forward to the next plan, looking forward to the hope of a comeback. When the mastermind behind the scenes, which was Chris, realized that the plan had no chance of success and planned to retreat in advance before the plan completely failed, Rog, who had been paying attention to him for a long time, didn't hesitate at all. He directly went from the 60th floor to the 75th floor and placed the result of failure in front of him. If it weren't for the lack of time and environment, Rog wouldn't have minded changing the method. He would have gone from the earth to heaven, and then from heaven to hell. Your Excellency Rog, he's still just a child. I hope you can be magnanimous and let him go first. Chris was afraid that Rog would really break his right leg, so he closed his mouth tightly and didn't dare to make any sound. At this moment, the guard commander of the building, under the protection of a team of guards, carefully approached Rog and said, "Just a child? A 30-year-old child?" After hearing the commander's words, Rog sneered, then shot Chris' left leg in front of the commander. Chapter 396. Ah! Chris, who couldn't bear the pain from his left leg being shot, screamed again. But this time, his scream only lasted for a short second before he forcibly suppressed it. He had no choice but to suppress it because Rog had already turned the muzzle of the blaster and aimed it at his head. Although the pain from his legs was unbearable, Chris knew which one he should choose between death and the other. "Mr. Rog, you." The commander didn't expect that his humble begging for mercy would result in Rog shooting even more decisively. Looking at Chris, who was trying his best to endure the pain, the commander originally wanted to say something, but in the end he didn't say anything. He signaled the guards beside him to put down their weapons and retreat a distance. Rog didn't want to continue shooting Chris, at least not until he figured out the ins and outs of the matter. However, the commander's words, "He's still a child," completely angered him. Although he didn't know how long the average lifespan of Xander's people was, Chris, who was under his foot, didn't look like a child at all. Rog didn't forget that Chris was once a civil official of the diplomatic mission, someone who was sent to the Carry Empire. And taking a step back, even if Chris was indeed a child by Xander's standards, this definitely wouldn't be a reason for him to let Chris go. Admit your mistakes. This was a principle that even 5- or 6-year-old children on Earth knew. The people that Rog despised the most were those who used age as an excuse after making a mistake. In his opinion, whether it was a 13- or 14-year-old underage kid or an old man in his 70s or 80s, as long as they did something wrong, they had to be responsible for their own actions. Respecting the old and loving the young was one thing, but being responsible for one's own actions was another. It was because he had seen too many bullshit things like "he's just a child," "he's already old," and "he's an old man," that he firmly believed that everyone had to be responsible for their own actions. From the looks of it, you should also know the ins and outs of this matter. Tell me what exactly is going on. After barely suppressing the anger in his heart, Rog said coldly to the commander, "No problem. As long as it's something Mr. Rog wants to know, I'll tell you everything I know." After hearing Rog's question, the commander was finally relieved. Although Rog still looks angry, at least he won't shoot Chris now. As long as Rog didn't shoot Chris, as long as Chris didn't die in front of him in the headquarters building, he could compromise on anything. "Well, Mr. Rog, I wonder if you can let us stop Chris's bleeding first? If he continues to bleed like this, I'm afraid that he will die from excessive blood loss before he can give you a satisfactory compensation." The commander asked in a low voice again. He didn't look like a soldier at all. Instead, he looked more like a person who manipulated power all day long. More than 10 minutes later, in the living room next to the command center, Rog sat on the sofa with a calm face. Opposite him was the commander of the building's guards and Chris, who had his wounds bandaged. Tell me everything you know." In the next few minutes, the commander spilled everything he knew without holding back. Including Chris's plan, the arrangement of Chris's father, how Chris found him, and some of the promises and benefits Chris gave him. In order not to let things continue to develop in a worse direction, the commander did not dare to hide the slightest bit of the truth. He told the whole story in full detail. After the commander finished speaking, Rog turned to look at Chris, who was silent, and his face became colder and colder. Just as he expected, Chris only wanted to use his father's power to retaliate a little, so that he couldn't get the reward he deserved so easily. But when he learned about the details of Rog's reward, he had some thoughts that he shouldn't have and told his father, the chairman of the military council, about the list of rewards. Then his plan changed from the initial revenge to the invasion of Rog's reward. In order to successfully obtain the equipment that originally belonged to Rog, they deliberately set the location of the operation at the headquarters building. As long as they could successfully kill Rog in the headquarters building, they could conclude that Rog took credit for himself and caused a ruckus in the headquarters building and killed related staff members. Although this didn't seem to be in line with Rog's character, at that time he would be dead, and no one would go against the chairman of the military council. When Rog was still alive, perhaps someone would be willing to fight for justice for him. But if he was dead, then naturally no one would be willing to stand up for a dead person. Especially since this was a dead person from another planet. So as long as Rog was dead, it didn't matter if other people believed it or not, it wouldn't affect Chris's plan. And the equipment that originally belonged to him would naturally return to the new Star Corps, and the military council would make reasonable arrangements. All in all, Chris's plan was feasible and had a chance of success. But the crux of the problem was that they had completely underestimated Rog's strength. In their plan, Luo Gu, who had defeated Luo Nan, the accuser, twice, was at most an existence stronger than the Centurion. After all, a Centurion was the strongest individual in the new Star Corps, and the possibility of Rog being stronger than a Centurion by several levels was instinctively ignored by them from the beginning. The new Star Corps was indeed very strong, but what they pursued wasn't the strength of an individual, but the strength of the Corps as a whole. So this possibility that was ignored from the beginning became the most fatal weakness in their plan. So that's how it is. No wonder when I first saw you 3 days ago in the guild hall, I felt that you had an innate arrogance. I didn't expect you to come from a powerful family. After listening to Chris's explanation, Rog said with a smile. Seeing the smile on Rog's face, Chris and the commander finally put down the big stone in their hearts and completely breathed a sigh of relief. Their surrender finally gave them the opportunity to peacefully resolve this matter. Chris didn't need to worry about his own safety, and the commander didn't need to worry about Chris dying in the headquarters building. Everything was starting to develop in a good direction. However, just when Chris and the commander felt that Rog had the idea of resolving the matter peacefully, Rog suddenly picked up the blaster on the table, pointed the muzzle directly at Chris's head, and decisively pulled the trigger. Shoo! The green blaster bullet pierced through Chris's head without any suspense, completely taking away his life. The bright red blood that spurted out immediately dyed the clean table red. Your answer is very detailed, but I'm not satisfied. Rog put down the blaster in his hand, picked up the white napkin beside the table, and unhurriedly wiped his right hand that was splashed with Chris's blood. Inform his father, the chairman, that I'm waiting for him here. Chapter 397. Inform His Excellency? The commander's eyes kept switching between Chris and Rog, and he said with a look of disbelief. Now, he couldn't wait to completely conceal the matter of Chris' death, and then run as far as possible to avoid Chris' father venting his anger on him for the death of his only son. Although the position of commander of the new Star Corps headquarters is very good, compared to his own life, it's nothing. Yes, inform his father, tell him that I'm waiting for him here. You don't have to go personally, just let your men go. Looking at the panicked commander, Rog said unhurriedly, as if he didn't realize the consequences of his action of killing Chris. It doesn't matter, I can go personally. Yes, I can personally inform His Excellency. After hearing Rog's words again, the commander finally reacted, quickly stood up and tried to leave the reception room. I just said let your men go. You stay here. Just by looking at the commander's expression, it's easy to know what he's thinking. Once he leaves the reception room, Rog can be 100% sure that he will never see this commander again. No problem, I will let others inform His Excellency. The commander originally wanted to fight for it, but when he saw Rog's emotionless eyes, he decisively gave up the idea of fighting for it. Under the commander's arrangement, the news of Chris being killed by Rog quickly spread to the military council, and to the ears of Chris' father. Although the guards have been arranged to inform Chris' father, the commander doesn't think that Chris' father will obediently come to the headquarters building according to Rog's request. According to his speculation, Chris' father is more likely to arrange for the new Star Corps Centurion powerhouse, or directly mobilize heavy weapons to bomb the headquarters building. Although the headquarters building is an important landmark building, if it is really bombed, it's not particularly difficult to deal with the aftermath. As the chairman of the military council, Chris' father is fully capable of completely solving the problems after the headquarters building is bombed. Your Excellency Rog, do you really think that His Excellency will come? In order to break the silence in the reception room, the commander took the opportunity to ask the question in his heart. You will definitely come. Rog answered decisively. What? Can you tell me why you're so sure? The commanding officer still couldn't understand why Chris's father would come here personally. First of all, his son's body is here. Unless he didn't want to leave his son's corpse intact, he would definitely come in person. Secondly, after knowing that I am the murderer of his son, he will definitely want to see me. Even if he wanted to avenge his son, he would first come to see me, the person who killed his son. Finally, he was the president of the Army Council. For a person in his position, if he didn't even have the courage to meet the person who killed his son after his son's death, he would be criticized for the rest of his life. To put it simply, he can't afford to lose face like this, so he will definitely come in person. Since he had nothing else to do, Rog patiently explained why he was so sure that Chris' father would come in person. Although Rog had thoroughly explained the reason, the commander sitting on the sofa opposite him still didn't quite believe it. Not risking one's life was a common characteristic of almost every superior. Chris' father was the president of the Army Council, so it was impossible that he didn't understand this principle. If he were Chris' father, he would definitely not come in person. Therefore, the commander continued, I still think that His Excellency won't come. If it were me, I wouldn't come either. This is why you are only the commander of the guards in the headquarters building, and he is the president of the Army Council. Rog glanced at the commander and said calmly, killing someone's heart, this was a blatant killing of someone's heart. If it wasn't Rog who said this but someone else, the commander would definitely use his own actions to tell that person what trouble comes from the mouth meant. Although he was mercilessly stabbed by Rog, the commander didn't do anything in the end. However, what he was thinking now was, just wait, I want to see what kind of expression you will show when His Excellency doesn't appear. Time slowly passed, and just when the commander couldn't help but remind Rog that half an hour had passed, the door of the reception room was suddenly pushed open. The one who pushed open the door was a tall warrior wearing armor and the Nova Corps uniform. When this warrior, who was over 2 meters tall, pushed open the door of the reception room, Chris' father, the president of the Nova Corps Army Council, Morgan Gardner, walked in with a dignified aura around him. Sir President. The moment Morgan Gardner entered the reception room, the commander sitting on the sofa immediately stood up and gave Morgan Gardner a Nova Corps military salute. Morgan Gardner didn't react at all to the commander's salute. He went straight to the sofa and looked down at Chris' corpse. You get out. After staring at Chris' corpse for more than 10 seconds, the president, who was exuding a dignified aura from head to toe, said expressionlessly. Although he didn't say who went out, he didn't even look at the commander. However, the moment he finished speaking, the commander left the reception room without looking back and closed the door on his way out. I came out alive, I finally came out alive. The moment he closed the door, the commander's heart was filled with a sense of joy, as if he had just escaped death. However, this joy quickly disappeared because he immediately realized that his troubles weren't over yet. The conversation between them won't end so soon. I have to leave Xander immediately, I have to leave now. However, he had only taken a few steps when the tall warrior who had pushed open the door blocked his way. Why did you kill Chris? Just because he wanted to take revenge on you and take away your equipment? President Morgan Gardner sat in the commander's seat and asked Rog with a blank expression. You already know the reason, so why ask me? Rog didn't see any sadness on Morgan Gardner's face, as if Chris, who was killed by him, wasn't his son at all. Just because of that you killed him. You killed my only son, Morgan Gardner. Aren't you a little too overbearing? Hearing Morgan Gardner's emotionless words, Rog suddenly laughed. Overbearing? You actually think I'm overbearing? Haha, interesting, really interesting. Rog laughed wildly as if he heard the funniest joke in the world. At the same time, he looked at Morgan Gardner as if he was looking at an idiot. Are you provoking me? As the president of the military council, Morgan Gardner could control his emotions very well, making it impossible for others to guess his true thoughts from his expression. However, for some reason, when he heard Rog's laughter, especially when he saw him looking at an idiot, Morgan Gardner showed signs of being unable to control his anger. I originally thought that since you could become the president, you would at least be a little better than that idiot Chris. But now I realize that I guessed wrong, completely wrong. Chris being such an idiot is completely because he inherited your IQ. Rog sighed helplessly and continued to say to Morgan Gardner, who was getting more and more angry, didn't you think I was too overbearing? Then I'll let you see what true overbearing is. As soon as his voice fell, the explosive pistol on the table suddenly appeared in Rog's hand, and 3 green explosive bullets instantly flew towards Morgan Gardner. Unlike Chris, who didn't have any actual combat strength, although Morgan Gardner had personally taken action many times, but before he entered the civil ranks of the New Star Corps, he was still a centurion through and through. A faint golden light suddenly erupted from Morgan Gardner's body, and the 3 explosive bullets aimed at his head and heart were instantly deflected. However, at the moment when the explosive bullets were deflected, a silver-white arc suddenly streaked across Morgan Gardner's right arm, cutting off his entire right hand. Lightning release, thunderbolt sword slash. The golden light of new star energy was still shining, but the flash of silver-white lightning was not obstructed, and directly streaked across Morgan Gardner's right hand. The tachi made of lightning dissipated, and bright red blood spurted out from Morgan Gardner's severed right arm. Unlike Chris, who liked to yell after being injured, Morgan Gardner's ability to endure pain was clearly several levels higher. However, Morgan Gardner never thought that Rog would actually dare to attack him, and in such a fierce manner. At this moment, Morgan Gardner finally understood why Rog dared to kill Chris, and why he still stayed in the headquarters to wait for his arrival after killing him. Chris had never participated in any kind of battle, so Chris didn't know that in this world, there was a terrifying existence who had completely integrated madness into their instincts. But Morgan Gardner had seen such a person who he would never forget after seeing him. That person was previously called the Mad Titan. And now, people were more willing to call him the Emperor of the Universe. Morgan Gardner had once seen this kind of madness from Thanos, and now he saw it again from Rog. Your Excellency, killing an idiot like Chris is not overbearing. Killing your son and cutting off the hand you couldn't control because of your greed, that is overbearing. Chapter 398. Other than Rog and Chairman Morgan Gardner, no one knew what they were talking about in the reception room. However, 5 minutes after entering the reception room, Chairman Morgan Gardner walked out of the reception room with an expressionless face. Although Morgan Gardner didn't say anything when he came out, everyone's attention was focused on his injured arm. It was a clean cut that looked like it was cut by a laser, a cut that was still flowing with bright red blood. Morgan Gardner didn't care about other people's gazes and handed his right hand that was held in his left hand to the tall soldier who opened the door. Then, without saying a word, as if nothing had happened, he left the building with his personal guards. Until Morgan Gardner and his guards completely disappeared around the corner of the corridor, the guard commander of the building finally regained a bit of his rationality. Am I hallucinating? The chairman's right hand was cut off? Rog actually cut off the chairman's right hand? The scene of Morgan Gardner holding a broken hand was completely beyond the commander's comprehension. He couldn't understand why Rog dared to cut off Morgan Gardner's right hand, and why Morgan Gardner was expressionless. What happened to this world? The commander, whose mind was filled with the scene of Morgan Gardner's broken hand, began to doubt whether this world was still the world he was familiar with. Just when the commander and the other guards were confused and shocked, Rog also walked out of the reception room as if nothing had happened. Then, without looking back, he left the New Star Army's headquarters building. Looking at Rog's leaving figure, the commander suddenly remembered the sentence Rog said to him before, the sentence that killed people. This is why you're only the commander of the headquarters building's guards, and he's the chairman of the council. A conflict that was originally enough to cause a war between Rog and the New Star Army ended just like that, in a way that no one knew about. After leaving the New Star Army's headquarters building, Rog directly used the portal magic and returned to the suite of the Bright Starry Sky Hotel and put on the Dark Game helmet again. Rog's invasion of the headquarters building and triggering the Black Invasion alarm came to an end in a quiet and irresistible way. The New Star Army didn't find trouble with Rog because of what happened in the headquarters building, and he never went to the headquarters building again. 2 days later, Rog received the reward that originally belonged to him in an armory near the New Star Army's headquarters building. At the same time, he also took away a compensation gift that wasn't similar to this reward. At the moment of receiving the reward, the commission status in the system also changed. 200 ninja coins commission reward was sent to Rog's account. Ninja coins not consumed, 610. Looking at his current unconsumed ninja coins, Rog returned to the hotel suite and directly used the portal magic, returning to Konoha's ninja village on Tatooine with Black, Pietro, and Rhodazy. You three go back to the headquarters first. I'm going to train here for a while. If there's anything urgent, you can let Hinata contact me. After that, Rog sent Black and the other two into the portal built by the Black Boulder. When the black liquid that built the portal re-solidified into a boulder, Rog used quantum transmission to go to the Hokage building that he had never been to before and came to the training room in the basement of the building. What happened in the New Star Army's headquarters building was just a small episode outside the plan for him. Although this episode caused him to return to Tatooine 2 days late, in general, this episode didn't cause him too much trouble. He got the promised reward, and the guy who tried to renege on the debt also received the punishment he deserved, and he also got the corresponding compensation. Except for affecting his mood and wasting 2 days of unnecessary time, he didn't lose much. After coming to the huge training room built under the Hokage building, Rog opened the system's exchange page and quickly browsed it. What happened in the New Star Army's headquarters building was just a small episode for him. However, what happened in the Sokka planet's arena was a big problem for him. When he fought with Thanos, he saw the terrifying body of Thanos that was so strong that it was completely unreasonable. It's a body stronger than Hulk, a body that can ignore most of his ninjutsu attacks. Except for the fact that he can't fly and can't use energy attacks, Thanos' body is perfect. In order to effectively take the initiative in the next battle against Thanos, Rog needs to add some extra cards for himself, a card that was not in his current training plan. The taijutsu in Naruto can be roughly divided into 2 categories, Steel Fist and Soft Fist. Steel Fist is mainly a direct attack that causes the opponent to fracture or cause other trauma. Most of the ninjas, including the taijutsu used by Rog before, belong to the category of Steel Fist. However, in the face of Thanos' strong physique, the effect of Steel Fist is greatly weakened. Even if Rog has sage body and monstrous strength, the Steel Fist taijutsu he used can't cause too much damage to Thanos. Since Steel Fist is restrained, it's time to put the practice of Soft Fist on the agenda. To be honest, Luogu did not like Gentle Fist, a fist technique that looked soft and weak. He doesn't doubt the power of Soft Fist. After all, when Soft Fist is developed to the extreme, it may become an ultimate taijutsu. It's just that compared to destroying the enemy's internal organs and meridians, he still prefers to destroy the enemy's body. Simple, violent, and effective. It didn't take long for Rog to find the Soft Fist he wanted in the system's exchange page. Hyuga Soft Fist exchange price, 100 ninja coins. This is a collection of Hyuga clan's basic Soft Fist, 8 trigrams 64 palms, 8 trigrams palm, 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 mountain break strike, etc. It also includes some of the Hyuga clan's practice notes. The exchange price is not expensive, which is within Rog's expectations. So he didn't hesitate and directly chose to exchange. The exchange icon symbolizing Hyuga clan's Soft Fist suddenly disappeared. At the same time, the practice information of Hyuga Soft Fist appeared in Rog's mind out of thin air. Soft Fist is in his hand, but to fully exert the power of Soft Fist, he still needs a pair of special eyes, a pair of eyes that can let him see the enemy's meridians. Byakugan exchange price, 200 ninja coins. Chapter 399. Byakugan, the Kekkei Genkai of the Hyuga clan, originated from the Otsutsuki clan. Like Sharingan, Byakugan is also one of the 3 dojutsu. In terms of development potential, Byakugan is not much worse than Sharingan. Sharingan can evolve into Manjikyu Sharingan, Eternal Manjikyu Sharingan, and Rinnegan. And Byakugan can also evolve into Tenseigan. The true power of Byakugan is not as weak as people think. The reason why Byakugan is not as good as Sharingan is purely because the Hyuga clan is too weak. The same Byakugan, but in the Otsutsuki clan, one is more powerful than the other and one is more abnormal than the other. If the Hyuga clan can also be like the Uchiha clan, where there is a monster every 3 to 5 days, Byakugan can also shine like Sharingan. Rog will not hesitate to exchange for the Hyuga clan's Gentle Fist. But when he exchanged for Byakugan, he hesitated. Although the exchange icon in the system clearly proves that he can exchange for Byakugan, he still can't make up his mind. Under normal circumstances, the icon that can't be exchanged will become dim black. For example, after he exchanged for the Sage mode of the Shikatsu Forest, the exchange icons of Ryuchi Cave and Mount Mayaboku became black and gray. However, Byakugan is not the Sage mode or Ninjutsu Genjutsu. Byakugan is a Kekkei Genkai that will change his physique. Rog now has the Uchiha clan Sharingan, and he has also practiced Manjikyu Sharingan to the level of Manjikyu Sharingan. So the problem is, although the system does not prevent him from exchanging for Byakugan, after exchanging for Byakugan, whether his Manjikyu Sharingan will still exist or not becomes a problem. Unlike his other transmigrating counterparts who were kind and considerate and would occasionally act as life mentors, his Goldfinger system was completely mute. Not to mention chatting to relieve boredom, even some basic user questions, his system is too lazy to explain. At this time, if his system can give some slightly more reliable explanation, he won't have to struggle for so long. To exchange or not to exchange, this is the problem. If he does, he may lose the Manjikyu Sharingan, which has become one of his main combat powers. If he didn't exchange for it, he wouldn't be able to display the true power of the Gentle Fist. The exchange price of 200 ninja coins has become the most insignificant existence at this time. After thinking about it seriously for more than 10 minutes and preparing for the worst, Rog finally made the decision to exchange for the supercilious eye. Although this decision seemed very rash, he had already considered all his options. If he exchanged for the Byakugan, his Mangekyo Sharingan would disappear. So, he will completely give up the idea of practicing Gentle Fist and Byakugan and use the remaining 300 ninja coins to exchange for the Sharingan. Then he repeated the process of the kaleidoscope's eye opening that he had done once before. Walter was in Konoha, and he had already opened his eyes with the Mangekyo once. It wouldn't be difficult for him to do it again. If it really came to this point, it would also answer a question that he still didn't know the answer to. That is, can the Sharingan he exchanged in the system evolve into an original Mangekyo pattern that he has never seen before? If with the help of Walter the evolved Mangekyo is still the same, then according to his previous experience he will plunder Gordon's quantum transmission and Johnny's hellfire again. If the evolved Mangekyo is completely different from the current ability and pattern, then he will practice the new ability again. Speaking of which, he is really looking forward to what kind of Mangekyo ability he will get. Although Tsukuyomi and Vientiane are very good, men will always have some ideas of liking the new and getting tired of the old. After suppressing the nervousness and excitement in his heart, Rog pressed the exchange icon representing the Byakugan. Then the exchange icon representing the Byakugan disappeared, and his unconsumed ninja coins dropped to 310. Just when Rog was all mentally prepared and waiting for the Byakugan to appear, he didn't get anything. What's going on? Is the system down? Or the ninja coins were swallowed? For a while Rog was a little stunned. What the hell? Where's my Byakugan? Where's my ninja coins? This is not scientific. Rog, who has dealt with the system many times, is now completely confused. Chakra normal, Sannin normal, Mangekyo Sharingan normal, Kyubi normal, Mana normal. Rog seriously and carefully perceived his current state from top to bottom. Then he didn't find anything strange. Am I really so unlucky? I was ready to lose Mangekyo Sharingan again, and the result is this? Rog suddenly didn't know what to say. According to the exchange icon given by the system and his own speculation, Byakugan and Sharingan may appear in the same person. Otsutsuki Kagaya and Otsutsuki Momoshiki all have Byakugan and Rinnegan at the same time. Since Byakugan and Rinnegan can appear in the same person, then the Rinnegan-level Sharingan should also be able to coexist with Byakugan. Although this is just a speculation, it is a very reliable speculation. At least in Rog's view this is the case. If there is any difference between him and Otsutsuki Kagaya and Otsutsuki Momoshiki, it is only that he is not a member of the Otsutsuki clan, and he only has 2 eyes. Forget it, don't think about it, just think of it as the new Star Supreme's commission for free. After adjusting his current lost mentality, Rog used quantum transmission and directly teleported from the practice room to the bathroom of the Hokage's mansion. Right now he no longer had any interest in practicing the Gentle Fist. At least he didn't have any interest in it now. Without Byakugan, Gentle Fist can't exert its full power at all. At most, it can be used to deal with enemies who are not as strong as him. Because of his bad mood, Rog soaked in hot water for half an hour in the bathroom, then wrapped in a bath towel and came to the bathroom's more than 2 meters long mirror. Speaking of which, it seems that he hasn't seen his original black eyes for a long time. Looking at the blood-red eyes in the mirror, Rog suddenly missed his original black eyes. So he closed his 3-tomo Sharingan that is open 24 hours a day. Just when he thought he was about to see his black eyes, he saw an unbelievable scene in the mirror. What the hell? Where are my black eyes? At this time, what appeared in front of him was not the black eyes in his memory, but the opposite white eyes. Chapter 400. Is this Byakugan? Looking at his eyes that have completely turned white, Rog couldn't react for a while. Although, in terms of color, his eyes are now Byakugan. But not only did he not feel any improvement in vision, but because he turned off the 3-tomo Sharingan, he felt that his vision has decreased a lot. After a few seconds of doubt, he found out what the problem is. Like Sharingan, Byakugan needs to be opened before it can exert its power. But it's not the same as Sharingan. After opening Byakugan, the original color of the iris will not change, but the blue veins next to the eyes will burst. Byakugan open. After finding the way to open Byakugan in his mind, Rog silently said in his heart, and a few blue veins suddenly burst on the side of his eyes. With the opening of Byakugan, the system's introduction and information about Byakugan finally emerged in his mind. The basic abilities of Sharingan can be divided into observation, replication, and hypnosis. As one of the three major dojutsu, Byakugan also has three basic abilities: telescopic vision, X-ray, and insight. Telescopic vision, as the name suggests, is to improve the eyesight of the eyes. Even if Rog has just opened Byakugan, his telescopic vision has reached a radius of 1 kilometer. In the state of opening Byakugan, as long as he wants, he can clearly see anything within a radius of 1 kilometer. Of course, with the continuous improvement of Byakugan's ability, the limit of telescopic vision will continue to increase. In addition to telescopic vision, Byakugan's X-ray and insight ability will continue to improve due to cultivation. Among the two abilities of X-ray and insight, Rog's personal favorite is X-ray. Byakugan's X-ray ability allows him to easily see through objects and enemies. Clothes, walls, metal, and other obstacles will be transparent under Byakugan's X-ray. More importantly, Byakugan can see the meridians, acupoints, bones, and chakra flow in the target's body. Just like the replication ability of Sharingan, the system has also made some adjustments to Byakugan's X-ray ability, changing the ability to see through the target's chakra flow to see through the target's energy flow, not just limited to chakra. Rog wasn't surprised by the system's adjustment to supercilious eye, because until now he was the only one in this world who possessed chakra. Byakugan's ability to see through things was the key to unleashing the power of Gentle Fist. Only with his X-ray vision could Rog accurately penetrate the enemy's body with his chakra, thereby destroying the enemy's meridian system, or the energy circulation route, thereby achieving the effect of destroying the enemy from the inside. As for the Byakugan's insight vision, it allowed him to have a 360-degree field of vision without any blind spots, unlike normal humans who could only have a horizontal field of vision of 188 degrees at most. Other than the three basic abilities of vision, clairvoyance, and insight with the Byakugan, he could also slightly increase his control over chakra, allowing him to release chakra from all the acupoints in his body at the same time, allowing him to perform high-level physical skills such as 8 trigrams palm, revolving heaven. However, this did not mean that possessing the Byakugan would allow one to release chakra from all the acupoints in one's body. Whether or not one could do this depended on the user's control over chakra as well as his strength. If it was a ninja with no strength, even if he had the Byakugan, he wouldn't be able to release chakra from all the acupoints in his body. After quickly going through the information of Byakugan in his mind, Rog began to use his Byakugan ability for the first time. The first thing he used was, of course, his most valued clairvoyance ability. When the clairvoyance ability of Byakugan was activated, the mirror in front of Rog instantly became transparent like glass. Even the wall behind the mirror was the same. Under the clairvoyance of Byakugan, Rog could easily see through any obstacles in front of him. Whether it was metal, walls, or anything else, nothing could block his sight. In the case of clairvoyance, Rog also used the clairvoyance ability of Byakugan, allowing his clairvoyance to be improved qualitatively. With the combination of clairvoyance and clairvoyance, he could clearly see the names of the books placed on the bookshelves of the Hokage's office hundreds of meters away in the bathroom of the Hokage's residence. After adapting to the new visual experience of combining clairvoyance and clairvoyance, Rog used the third ability of Byakugan, the clairvoyance ability. With the integration of clairvoyance, Rog's perspective was no longer limited to what was in front of him, but became a 360-degree view without any blind spots. After experiencing the new visual experience brought about by Byakugan, Rog turned his gaze back to himself, instantly seeing through his body and examining the internal situation of his body. The light blue ball burning like a flame was his own chakra, and the blood-red ball was the half-cubi sealed in his body, yang-cubi. In addition, he also saw a small ball of rainbow-like gorgeous light in his right eye, as well as an orange-red flame. The rainbow-like brilliance was the quantum teleportation arcana that he had plundered from Gordon. The orange-red flame was the hellfire that he plundered from Ghost Rider Johnny. Not only that, he also saw a golden light in his body, which was the magic he got from learning magic in Kamartosh. After carefully examining his physical condition, Rog closed the Byakugan, and the bulging blue veins around his eyes returned to normal. With the closing of Byakugan, the clairvoyance also disappeared. The appearance of Byakugan did not change the Sharingan, but replaced his original black eyes. Even if he doesn't open Byakugan and Sharingan, his black eyes won't appear again. After a few seconds of sighing, Rog found a new set of clothes from the closet in the bedroom. After dressing up, he used quantum transmission to return to the office in the Hokage building, then turned on the computer and quickly typed. It didn't take long for him to type out all the cultivation methods of the Hashiman Tanku in his mind without missing a word. After checking it again, he silently deleted the cultivation methods of the last 3 gates, and then said, "Hinata, use Hulk as the test target, replace chakra with gamma energy or Hulk's vitality, and retest the possibility of cultivating the Hashiman Tanku, and make relevant adjustments." Although Rog hasn't returned to Earth yet, he didn't forget what he promised Hulk. In addition, start a new research project. Project topic: Chakra Energy Transplant Plan. The test target is also Hulk. Chapter 401. Rog can do the research and development of ninjutsu by himself. But adjusting the Hashiman Tanku to make it suitable for people without chakra is not something he can handle alone. Not to mention the various troubles encountered in the process of testing and adjustment, just the amount of data needed in the test and adjustment is not something he can calculate by himself. Although ninjutsu is not a science, sometimes it has to pay attention to scientific laws. Finding and calculating the laws is the strength of a super artificial intelligence like Hinata. Roger. When Roger finished speaking, Hinata's virtual image appeared in front of him and said softly to him, "Don't worry, Mr. Roger. Although this Hinata in Konoha's hidden village is not Hinata herself, her calculation ability is not worse than Hinata herself in Konoha's intelligence agency headquarters. After all, compared with Hinata herself, who needs to deal with a lot of tedious things in Konoha's intelligence agency, the workload of this Hinata is relatively less." After instructing Hinata, Rog took out a piece of white paper from the drawer of his desk and began to summarize his next training plan. The first thing to do is to practice Byakugan and Gentle Fist, which are one of his trump cards in the future when facing enemies like Thanos who have a strong body. So, he wrote the words Byakugan and Gentle Fist on the white paper and added a number in front of them. In addition to Byakugan and Gentle Fist, Sharingan and Sage Body are also the focus of his training plan this time. Until now, his Susanoo has not completed the third form with armor, so Sharingan still needs to be further improved. As for Sage Body, this directly affects his physical strength, speed, endurance, recovery and other basic attributes. It is also a link that cannot be ignored. And Sage Body is also the key to evolving Manjikyu Sharingan into Rinnegan in the future. Under normal circumstances, he needs to evolve his Manjikyu Sharingan into Eternal Manjikyu Sharingan, and then evolve it into Rinnegan through the fusion of Hashirama cells. This is the method used by Uchiha Madara. Although this method is a reliable way to improve for Rog, this method has innate and irreparable defects. He doesn't have a brother in this world, let alone a brother who has the Manjikyu Sharingan. Therefore, he had no way of upgrading his kaleidoscope to the level of Eternal Kaleidoscope. Since he can't have the Eternal Manjikyu Sharingan, one of the prerequisites for the Rinnegan, he can only start with the cells of Hashirama. Uchiha Madara's Rinnegan evolved from the Eternal Manjikyu Sharingan and the transplantation of Hashirama's cells. And Roger intends to take a different path in the details, but the principle is the same, the path of Rinnegan. He wants to use his Manjikyu Sharingan and Hashirama's Sage Body to evolve his own Rinnegan. Although he can't have the Eternal Manjikyu Sharingan like Madara, he can have Hashirama cells that are stronger than Hashirama's. In this way he can offset the shortcomings of the Sharingan and evolve his own Rinnegan. Of course, this was only a theoretical evolution process. In the specific process of opening the eye, there would definitely be some small problems in other aspects. Thus, he wrote down the second content of his cultivation plan on the white paper. Number 2, Sharingan plus Sage Body. Then he drew an equal sign behind it, and wrote the 3 words Rinnegan. After writing the 3 words Rinnegan, he then wrote down the third content. Number 3, QB Resonance. Rog's current resonance with QB is 4, which means that he can now use QB's chakra to 4 tails at most. Although Yanbi's state is not low, it is still a long way from the QB mode he wants. Even if it's an incomplete QB mode, he estimates that he must at least reach the level of resonance 7 or 8. As for the complete QB mode, of course he must reach the highest level of resonance 9. Byakugan and Gentle Fist, Sharingan and Sage Body, and QB Resonance are all the contents of his next cultivation plan. As for Ninjutsu, Genjutsu, and Taijutsu, they are not in his cultivation plan for the time being. The battle with Thanos in the Sokka Planet Arena made him fully aware of the gap between him and Thanos in terms of basic physical fitness. This also once again proved that the body of the Earthlings is really fragile. Not to mention that compared with Thanos, even the ordinary Asgard people have a strong body that is far more powerful than the Earthlings. After formulating a cultivation plan, Rog immediately entered this boring cultivation day. However, he didn't expect that just as he was working hard in Konoha, an invasion happened on the Earth that caught most organizations and forces by surprise. The suburbs of New York, the headquarters of the Avengers. Hasn't Rog come back yet? It's been half a year. Is he planning to travel the whole universe? Tony, who was wearing an expensive suit, sat on a chair and impatiently asked Natasha, who was sitting opposite him. We have contacted the Konoha Intelligence Agency several times, and Rog's personal assistant Hinata gave us the same reply every time, saying that she would help us pass on the message to Rog. Compared with the slightly irritated Tani, Natasha, who was wearing casual clothes, was much calmer and answered in a calm tone. Pass on the message? His artificial intelligence assistant gave us such an answer. Does she know what's going on outside? Tani knows exactly what Hinata is because to some extent, he is Hinata's father. It's just that when she was in his hands, Hinata was not called Hinata, but Sunday. I think she should be very clear. After all, in recent months the people of the Konoha Intelligence Agency have been acting outside. Natasha was still as calm as ever. Damn it. If I knew this, I wouldn't have given him Sunday. Just as Tani was complaining, Captain America and Dr. Banner walked into his office and put an energy gun that did not belong to Earth technology on the desk. I have confirmed with Dr. Banner that this energy pistol is not Hydra's energy weapon, nor is it a replica made by other organizations that imitate Chitauri weapons. This is an individual weapon made by another civilization, an alien civilization that is not inferior to Chitauri. As he spoke, Captain America took off his helmet, revealing a tired face. Chapter 402. Washington, Konoha Intelligence Agency Headquarters. When Rogers and Dr. Banner came to Tani's office with energy pistols that didn't belong to Earth, Konoha's intelligence agency was also holding a secret meeting attended by a few people. Frank the Punisher, Bronsky the Abomination, Daisy the Shockwave, Pietro the Quicksilver, Walter the Scarlet Witch and other well-known superheroes in Konoha gathered in the highest-level conference room of the headquarters building at this time. Unlike the relaxed atmosphere of the headquarters in the past, at this time, a dignified look appeared on the faces of the Punishers and others, and an oppressive silence enveloped the entire conference room. We can't let things get worse. I suggest contacting Rog immediately. We need him now. The first to speak was Daisy. She said with a gloomy face, staring at the empty seat at the top of the long conference table. To be precise, she was looking at the virtual three-dimensional projection standing next to this seat. The main seat at the top of the conference table belongs to Rog. Although he hasn't returned to Earth for more than half a year, even so, no one dares to sit in this seat that belongs to the director of Konoha's intelligence agency, and only belongs to Rog. Hokage-sama is cultivating in Konoha's hidden village. I have reported the current situation to Hokage-sama and obtained full authorization from Hokage-sama. The virtual three-dimensional projection next to Rog's seat is none other than his personal artificial intelligence assistant, Hinata. You are just an artificial intelligence. You are not qualified to make decisions for Rog. Daisy, who has rarely been angry, showed a violent temper that was completely different from the past and said loudly to Hinata, I have obtained full authorization from Hokage-sama. If you have any questions, you can wait until Hokage-sama returns to the headquarters and confirm with Hokage-sama in person. Before that, all the affairs of the headquarters will be handled by me. I have made a complete calculation of your proposals, and the highest success rate is less than 30%. Konoha's intelligence agency will continue to maintain the original action plan. Although Hinata's electronic voice is no different from a real human voice. But at this time, her words made people feel the innate cold-blooded and ruthless machine creation. Since Rog-sama has given Hinata full authorization, we should act according to the previous established plan. If Konoha's strength is damaged because of our actions, Rog-sama will not be happy when he comes back. When Daisy's anger was about to erupt like a volcano, the Punisher on the left spoke. As the existence that followed Rog for the longest time, the Punishers had a very high status in Konoha's headquarters. Even Peter and Walter, who did not have a clear superior-subordinate relationship with Rog, would show him great respect when they saw him. Although the Punisher's strength is far inferior to Abomination, Daisy, Pietro, and the others in Konoha's headquarters, he is the highest existence under Rog. In this regard, even Hinata couldn't compare to the Punisher. Actually, I think you're a little too nervous, Daisy. Although the outside environment is indeed a bit bad in general, it doesn't have much impact on our Konoha Intelligence Agency. And those extraterrestrial bastards won't dare to have ideas about us. After the Punisher finished speaking, Quicksilver Pietro also expressed his opinion. But as soon as he finished speaking, Walter, sitting next to him, gave him a look that told him to shut up. Forget it, you didn't hear anything. Although Pietro was Walter's brother in front of Walter, he didn't have the dignity an older brother should have. Walter was the one who had the final say between the two. I support Daisy's plan. Although the success rate is not high, we have the responsibility to help the victims. Rog wouldn't want to see us not help them. Let's vote, one person, one vote. Those who support Daisy's plan can raise their hands now. Walter expressed her opinion and took the lead in raising her right hand. Although in Konoha's headquarters, Walter was the kind of person who didn't express her own opinions and didn't even have much interest in field operations. But strangely, her status in Konoha's headquarters was not much lower than the Punisher's. Although Walter didn't explicitly deny Hinata's opinion, her action of raising her hand clearly expressed her true thoughts. As Walter raised her hand, Daisy and Pietro also raised their hands. Later, Dr. Lizard Connors and Red Tank also raised their right hands. The Punisher looked at everyone who raised their hands, thought seriously, and finally didn't raise his hand. Unlike others, in addition to being a member of Konoha's intelligence agency, he also has a psychic contract with Rog. He can't violate Rog's opinion. Although Hinata is now making decisions on behalf of Rog, as long as Hinata has Rog's authorization, he won't violate Hinata's orders. The Punisher didn't raise his hand, and Abomination certainly didn't raise his hand. In addition to the two of them, Black and Moonlight Stone also didn't raise their hands. There were a total of 11 people in the conference room, and the situation suddenly became 5-5. For a while, everyone's eyes were on Venom. What should we do? Which side do we support? Eddie, who was completely wrapped in Venom, whispered to Venom. Venom didn't come alone, his host Eddie also came with him. Unfortunately, as Venom's host, Eddie doesn't have any right to vote. If Eddie wasn't Venom's host, he wouldn't even be qualified to appear in this conference room. Don't look at me like that, I will only listen to Rog's arrangements. Since Rog has delegated power to Hinata, then I will listen to Hinata's arrangements. Venom spat out his long red tongue and said casually. 6-5, Daisy's plan failed by one vote. The scene that happened in Konoha's intelligence agency headquarters was quickly learned by Rog. Although he hasn't returned to Earth in the past 6 months, this doesn't mean that he knows nothing about what happened on Earth. Glancing at the surveillance video of the conference room that Hinata sent, Rog sighed helplessly. Walter is more popular than I thought. Let's not talk about Daisy and Pietro. They will definitely support Walter. But what I didn't expect was that Dr. Connors and Red Tank would also stand on Walter's side. At this time, Rog wasn't in the practice room, but in the office of the Hokage building. After watching the surveillance video, he stood up from the chair and came to the window, looking at the sun that was about to set in the distance. Forget it, let's go back first. If I let the Skrull people continue to play, I don't know what the consequences will be. It's time for this farce to end. Chapter 403. The big event that gave Tani and other Avengers headaches and caused Konoha to be divided to some extent is not a particularly serious matter. At least in the eyes of Rog, who has the aura of a prophet, this big event is not serious. Simply put, the big event that happened on Earth now is the legendary secret invasion of the Skrulls. As for why the secret invasion of the Skrulls suddenly broke out at this time, because there is still not enough information, Rog is not particularly clear for the time being. However, there was one thing he was sure of. The evil version of superheroes that appeared on Earth was a smokescreen created by the Skrulls using their own racial abilities and advanced technology that surpassed Earth's civilization. At this point, it was necessary to mention what had happened on Earth during the past 6 months that Rog had been cultivating. After Rog sent Dr. Banner, who was kidnapped by the rope grass slavers, back to Earth, Dr. Banner resumed his superhero career as Hulk to fight evil and save the world and people. Hulk's heroic actions in the eyes of the general public were not a problem because he did this before. But no one thought that shortly after Hulk resumed his heroic actions, Hulk's reputation plummeted at a speed visible to the naked eye. Now Hulk is no longer regarded as a superhero, but as a violent vigilante who ignores the law. The reason for such a huge reversal in reputation is due to one of Hulk's actions. It was a normal fire rescue activity. Hulk came to the scene of the fire and rescued ordinary people trapped in the sea of fire. If one only looked at the results, this operation was very normal. After all, Hulk had successfully rescued the victims of the disaster. But the problem was that while rescuing the victims, the careless Hulk accidentally overturned the burning building. Then, the collapsed building killed the firefighters on the scene, as well as a large group of reporters on the scene. If this kind of accident only happened once, people's reputation for Hulk would not have deteriorated so badly. After all, this was just an uncontrollable accident. However, ever since this accident happened, news of Hulk harming innocent people and his subsequent heroic actions kept appearing. Not only was Hulk's action like this, even Iron Man and Captain America, the face of the Avengers, were the same. They worked hard to uphold justice and save people's lives, but their righteous actions took away the lives of more innocent people. For example, when Iron Man organized the bank robbers, the missile fired accidentally detonated a nearby oil tanker. Another example is when Captain America attacked the black market weapons dealer. The bomb at the scene killed other residents around him. On the surface, these heroic actions seemed to be upholding justice, but they took away the lives of innocent people again and again. And this kind of incident of innocent people being injured in action didn't only happen to famous hero teams such as Konoha and the Avengers. Even the less famous vigilante teams such as the Defender League, that just appeared in Hell's Kitchen, have also had similar accidents. As accidents continued to happen and certain people added fuel to the fire, the profession of superheroes suddenly fell to the level of a rat crossing the street. Now, there were protests against superheroes almost every day, asking the government to regulate these superheroes with extraordinary abilities. There were even many government members who took advantage of the situation to propose a superhero registration bill, requiring every superhero to register their identity and accept government jurisdiction. This was not the first time the Avengers had encountered this kind of opposition from the public. The previous Seoul incident caused by Ultron had already caused the Avengers to experience a similar protest. However, this protest was completely different from before. Because these accidents that caused the deaths of innocent people were not done by hero teams such as the Avengers and Konoha. After Hulk's first accident, the Avengers found that something was wrong. At that time, Dr. Banner was conducting research in the Avengers headquarters. It was impossible for him to appear at the scene of the fire to rescue the trapped people, let alone collapse the building and kill the firefighters and reporters at the scene. Similarly, Konoha also found that something was wrong with the accidents caused by the impersonation of Konoha's heroes. Although the Avengers and Konoha had made a public explanation of this, it was a pity that the people did not believe the evidence they provided. Instead, they thought that this was fake evidence in order to escape responsibility. The protests and distrust of the people were only one aspect. What was even more troublesome was that the hero teams represented by the Avengers and Konoha were protested and targeted at the official level. Now, a large number of protesting people gathered around the headquarters of the Avengers and Konoha headquarters, as well as military forces arranged by the military. People protested, the government targeted, and these superheroes on Earth suddenly became the most unpopular existence. Rog looked at the various evidence and information sent by Hinata and saw what was going on at a glance. Using high-tech in their own transformation ability, the Skrulls transformed into superheroes on Earth and put the blame on the superheroes. At the same time, the Skrulls, who had long been hidden in the government, used the power of the government to further solidify this blame. The real superheroes were facing protests from the people and the government. And the fake superheroes of the Skrulls were constantly exacerbating this situation. For example, just a week ago, a Skrull disguised as Hulk suddenly broke into a protest site of thousands of people and killed them on live TV. The framing method of the Skrulls wasn't clever, it could even be said to be simple and crude. But in the face of their innate racial talent and the advanced technology of Earth, their actions achieved an unimaginable great effect. Although the framing method used by the Skrulls was somewhat crude, until now the Avengers and Konoha have not confirmed their true identity. These Skrulls didn't confront the heroes of the Avengers and Konoha at all. The real heroes haven't appeared yet, but these fakes have already disappeared. Only Rog, who had the aura of a prophet, could see the truth of the matter at a glance. Although it wasn't quite the same as what he remembered, Rog was certain that this incident was caused by the secret invasion of the Skrulls. Chapter 404. Hinata, pull up all the information about the Skrull. Rog, who was standing in front of the huge window, said, then turned and sat back on the chair. Yes, Hokage-sama. In just 2 or 3 seconds, Hinata projected a holographic image of the Skrull's information in front of Rog. This information wasn't collected by Rog, nor by Konoha, but by the Golden Jack. Before the transformation, the Golden Jack was the main battleship of the Carey Empire. Although the Golden Jack doesn't participate in the space war anymore, the Carey Empire's database still exists. The Skrull was one of the main enemies of the Carey Empire, and there is a lot of information about them in the Golden Jack. It's also worth mentioning that in order to avoid losing the precious information in the battleship, Rog asked Hinata to make 2 copies of the Golden Jack and put them in the Konoha Intelligence Agency headquarters and the Konoha Hidden Village. According to the internal information of the Carey Empire, Logue knew that a few decades ago, the Carey Empire had conquered the mother planet of the Skrulls, turning the Skrulls into wanderers in the universe. The strength of the Skrull is now far from its heyday, but even so, the level of technology they have mastered is far beyond that of the Earth. According to the records, in ancient times the Skrull were divided into 2 kinds. One is the mutant Skrull with the ability to transform at will, and the other is the eternal Skrull who can't transform but are very powerful. Later, the mutant Skrull destroyed the eternal Skrull and became the ancestors of the modern Skrull. This is the reason why the current Skrull have the ability to transform. Currently, the Skrullu people all had the ability to shapeshift at will, but their shapeshifting abilities varied. The average Skrull can only change their appearance at will and disguise themselves as other races. Moreover, they don't need any auxiliary means to transform. As long as they look at the target, they can perfectly transform into the target, and even their voice will be the same. Ordinary Skrulls could only change their appearance, but the more powerful Skrulls could not only change their appearance, but also copy their target's memories. However, if you want to copy the target's memory, just looking at the target is not enough. You need to have a little contact with the target and obtain the target's DNA. According to the Carey's test, the Skrull's memory duplication is only a short-term memory duplication. It can't copy the target's complete life memory. The Skrull who can copy memories can be regarded as the elites of the Skrull race. However, this isn't the limit of the Skrull race. In the Skrull race there is also the Super Skrull. The Super Skrull can not only copy the target's memory, but they can also copy the target's ability and make themselves the same as the target. As for how the Super Skrull's ability, the Carey Empire didn't study the theory of the Skrull's race. This was because even though the Carey Empire had conquered the Skrull homeworld, they didn't manage to capture a single Super Skrull. If they didn't see the perfect copy of the Super Skrull on the battlefield, the Carey would have suspected that the Super Skrull was an extinct existence like the Eternal Skrull. In Rog's memory, the Super Skrull's secret invasion was caused by the Super Skrull's disguise as the Avengers, causing a serious crisis of trust within the Avengers, which eventually led to the secret invasion of Earth. From the various superhero-related incidents reported by Hinata, Rog hasn't found any signs of the Super Skrull. However, this doesn't rule out the possibility that there are no Super Skrulls on Earth. Who knows if the Skrull used advanced technology to copy the superhero-related abilities, or if the Super Skrull among them copied the superhero-related abilities. After all, some things can be achieved with technology even without genetic mutation. Rog wasn't interested in the Skrull's ability to transform and copy memories, because his transformation and Sharingan's illusion can achieve similar effects. However, he was still very interested in the Super Skrull's ability to copy the target's abilities. One of the Sharingan's specialties is copying, but it can only copy the target's movements and abilities that don't involve genetic mutation. The Super Skrull's ability to copy has obviously broken through this limit. He doesn't know why, but ever since he met the Treant Groot in the Land of Nothingness, Rog began to understand Orochimaru more and more. Master all the truths of time, learn all the ninjutsu abilities. This kind of future is really tempting. However, understanding is one thing. Rog has no idea of developing into a Franken ninja like Orochimaru for the time being. The reason is simple: he has more cards in his hand than Orochimaru, and he hasn't reached the point where he needs to break through the taboo to gain power. Hinata, make a copy of the adjusted Hashiman Tanku and send it to Konoha's headquarters. I should go back to fulfill my promise. As soon as his voice fell, a brilliant aurora-like light appeared around Rog's body. In the next second his figure disappeared, and in an instant he went from the office in the Hokage building to the transmission base connecting the Earth and the planet Tatooine. When the black boulder liquefied into a pool of petroleum-like liquid, Rog didn't even think about it and directly jumped in. In a few seconds he returned from Konoha's hidden village to Konoha's intelligence headquarters, which he hasn't returned to for half a year. More than 10 minutes later, Tani in the headquarters received a call from Rog. I heard that you have been troubled by a group of aliens recently. This is not your style. As soon as Rog's voice sounded, Tani on the other end of the phone complained with dissatisfaction. You still have the nerve to say that? Do you think everyone is like you, throwing everything directly to their artificial intelligence assistant? Rog didn't have time to explain what is the reasonable use of the potential of artificial intelligence. Tani's voice sounded again. Don't talk nonsense, you should already know what is going on outside now. Let's meet, you choose the place and I will decide the time. Tani seemed to give a fair choice. But in the next second he said the time of the meeting, "I choose to meet now, you choose a place." This was indeed Tony Stark's way of doing things. Chapter 405. Now. Okay, the location is at Konoha's intelligence agency headquarters. You haven't been here yet, so this time you can come and have a look. Tani wanted to tease Rog, and Rog certainly had to do something. Konoha's intelligence agency headquarters? No problem, in 5 minutes you open a portal and I'll bring people there right away. Tani froze for a moment, then replied calmly. Why do you want me to open a portal? It's you who wants to come over, not me who wants to pick you up. Rog wasn't surprised that Tani knew that he could open a portal. After all, Natasha and Scott have seen his portal, so it's normal for Tani to know about it. Okay, stop fooling around. Open a portal. You should know that recently, it's not suitable for us to leave the headquarters base openly. Tani on the other end of the phone finally stopped joking and said seriously. Okay, in 5 minutes I'll wait for you in the conference room here and you can bring people over. The entrance of the portal, I'll open it in the conference room where we met last time. After confirming the time to open the portal with Tani, Rog looked up at the holographic image of Hinata in front of him and said, Inform Daisy and Walter, let them all come to the big conference room on the 5th floor. Konoha is going to work with the Avengers for once. Okay, Hokage-sama. After receiving Rog's instructions, Hinata's holographic image quickly disappeared. 5 minutes later, in the conference room on the 5th floor of Konoha's headquarters building, Rog saw Tani and others who he hadn't seen for a long time. Tani, Rogers, Natasha, Banner, Patton, Rhodes, Sam, Illusion, Scott. This time Tani brought all the main members of the Avengers. Of course, except for Thor, who is still dealing with government affairs in Asgard. What happened to your eyes? As soon as they met, Tani saw that Rog's eyes were no longer blood red and asked with concern. It's nothing. It's just a side effect of obtaining some kind of power. Rog did not explain the supercilious eye to Tani. Not only did he explain it to Tani, but he also explained it to Daisy and Walter. The more he explained, the more troublesome it would be to roll his eyes. Therefore, in order to avoid trouble, the best thing to do was to quell their curiosity from the beginning. Sit anywhere you like. After giving Tani a gentle hug, Rog said to the side. In the large conference room, there was a large rectangular conference table that could seat more than 20 people. Rog wanted to learn from King Arthur and put a big round table here to symbolize equality, but under Hinata's suggestion he finally gave up the idea. Although the Konoha Intelligence Agency is not the real Konoha, it still needs a clear hierarchy. Blindly pursuing the so-called equality will only weaken the power of the Konoha Intelligence Agency. This was Hinata's suggestion after learning a lot about organizational structure. The main seat at the top of the conference table was, of course, Rog's seat. Tani sat next to Rog on the right, and Frank the Punisher sat opposite him on the left. When Tani sat down, Rogers and the others also sat down, and then looked at the people of Konoha without saying a word. Since everyone is here, let's start. Hinata, show us the information of the Skrulls. As soon as Rog finished speaking, the light in the conference room dimmed a bit. Then, a virtual holographic projection screen appeared in front of everyone. This is an alien race called Skrull with a long history and advanced technology. However, their mother planet was destroyed by another space civilization, the Carey Empire, and now they are wanderers in the universe. What you see now is the true appearance of the Skrulls. Of course, you can be more familiar with their other appearance. As soon as his voice fell, the picture on the screen changed, showing the previous action that led to the death of innocent people. In the picture there was Hulk, who was more than 2 meters tall, Tony, who was wearing an Iron Man suit, Rogers, who was holding a shield, and Barton, who was shooting arrows. Basically, in front of everyone there was a picture of their actions. Everyone in the Avengers saw their figure in the picture. On Konoha's side, only Abomination, Red Tank, Daisy, Pietro and Moonlight Stone, who often act outside, had pictures of their actions. Being reminded by Rog to this extent, even if the people in the room were stupid, they understood what was going on. What happened in the past 6 months was the doing of these Skrulls. As for the purpose, on one hand it was to make the people and the government hate you, and on the other hand it was to invade the Earth. Rog glanced at the expression of the people in the room and continued. Invade the Earth? After hearing this word, Tani, Rogers and the others who are more familiar with the government's operations, immediately thought of something. You mean they are not just imitating us? Rogers took the lead and asked. In fact, I prefer to use the word transformation to describe their ability. The Skrullu race is a natural spy race. Their racial talent allows them to transform into anyone's appearance. Having said that, Rog paused for a few seconds and then said in a serious tone, "You guessed right, they are also in some of the government agencies. Maybe the recent report against the Avengers and Konoha was written by them." After Rog finished, even Venom and Dr. Connors, who didn't have much contact with the government, realized the seriousness of the matter for the first time. "Since you already know who they are, then you should also have a way to distinguish them, right?" Tani asked with a frown. "I can distinguish them, but this is my personal ability. As far as I know, there is no instrument that can directly distinguish the Skrulls in the state of transformation. Of course, if you can invent one, that would be even better." Rog was telling the truth, because even the Carey Empire, which destroyed the Skrulls' mother planet, has not invented an instrument that can reveal the Skrulls' true form. In this regard, the only thing that could be counted on was Tony's brain, which had been turned on a cheat. Tani can even create a spacetime tracking device, and inventing an instrument that can see through the transformation of the Skrulls shouldn't be too much of a problem for him. Does this race have any shortcomings? Tani didn't immediately answer Rog, but Natasha, who was sitting in the third seat on the right, raised her own question. Of course. Although the transformation ability of the Skrulls is very powerful, it can even be considered perfect. But their individual strength is not strong. If it is an ordinary Skrull, everyone here has the strength to defeat them. But the premise is that you can distinguish them, and you only met an ordinary Skrull. Rog emphasized the word ordinary. Ordinary? Then what if it is not ordinary? Natasha cooperated and asked again. This is the reason why the Restoration Alliance is cooperating with Konoha this time. Ordinary Skrulls can only change their appearance, the more powerful ones can also copy short-term memories, but these aren't too big of a problem. The real problem is the Super Skrull. When Rog mentioned the Super Skrull, the holographic screen in front of everyone changed again. The Super Skrull and ordinary Skrulls have no difference in appearance, but the Super Skrull can not only transform and copy memories, but also copy the ability of their target. For example, if a Super Skrull turns into Hulk's appearance, then it is very likely that he has the same strength as Hulk. Although the ability copied by the Super Skrull is a counterfeit, it won't be too different from the original. When Rog finished speaking, the conference room suddenly fell into a dead silence. Chapter 406. A group of fake Hulks that aren't much weaker than Hulk. Even if there are only 10 of these fake Hulks, as long as there are 2 or 3 of them, it would be enough to cause an unimaginable disaster. Thinking of this, the faces of Tani and the others became more and more ugly. You don't have to be so pessimistic. There won't be many of these Super Skrulls, otherwise they wouldn't have avoided direct confrontation with you. Rog glanced at Tani and the others and continued. According to the records of the Carey Empire, the proportion of Super Skrulls in the entire Skrull race isn't very high. It's about 1 in a few hundred ordinary Skrulls. So in general, they don't need to worry too much about these Super Skrulls. I hope so. Tani replied weakly. The current situation is bad enough. If these Super Skrulls that can replicate abilities are added, the situation will only develop in a worse direction. Anyway, thank you for bringing back this information. At least let us know who the enemy is. After sorting out his somewhat depressed mood, Tani thanked Rog. You don't have to be so polite. Although the philosophy of the Restoration Alliance and Konoha is not the same at this time, we are allies on the same front. Rog replied with a smile. In the following time, Rog and Tani discussed the sharing of the Restoration Alliance and Konoha's intelligence network, and shared the information they have obtained with each other. After discussing the general details of the cooperation, Tani returned to the Restoration Alliance headquarters with the Americans. However, when they returned to the Restoration Alliance headquarters, Rog left Dr. Banner, or more accurately Hulk, behind. Until a living Skrull is captured, or until Tani develops a device to identify Skrulls, Konoha and the Restoration Alliance can only continue to endure the Skrulls' behavior of throwing blame at them. Knowing the existence of the Skrulls doesn't mean that they can immediately reverse the current situation. They still have a lot of preparation to do if they want to truly stop the Skrulls' secret invasion. While Hinata assigned tasks to Daisy, Walter, and the others, Rog took Hulk to his private training room. Do you remember what I told you last time? After coming to the training room the size of a football field, Rog looked up and said to Hulk. Yes. You said you wanted to teach Hulk the Hashiman Tanku. Hulk certainly wouldn't forget the words that Logue had said to him. As he spoke, he excitedly gestured to Logue to use the 8 inner hidden gates. Looking at the excited Hulk, Rog took a few steps back and said, Hinata, Project Hulk's version of the Hashiman Tanku. As soon as his voice fell, a holographic display screen of Hulk's size appeared in front of Hulk. Hulk, STSS, SSSSS, assist to you. Rog explained to Hulk, then raised his right hand and wrapped his chakras around his hand. Although is different, power won't be too different. More importantly, as long as you can open the third gate of life, you can also emit green light. To be honest, even now Rog didn't know whether it was because Hulk liked the 8 inner hidden gates because it was powerful enough, or because after opening the third gate, it would emit a green light, so he was interested in the 8 inner hidden gates. But no matter what the reason is, as long as Hulk is interested in Hashiman Tonku, it's fine. Because he's also very curious about how powerful Hashiman Tonkus can be after Hulk's. Good. Hulk answered excitedly. Here are only the first 5. After you've thoroughly mastered these 5, I'll teach you the other 3. Although Rog has all the Hashiman Tonku's cultivation methods, he himself has only practiced the 6th. So before he fully masters Hashiman Tonku, it's impossible for him to modify Hashiman Tonkus to a suitable version based on his own experience. Even if Hinata carries out a massive amount of data simulation, it won't work. I'll work hard to learn the first 5. Hulk said solemnly to Rog. Then you should first memorize the Hashiman Tonku's cultivation methods. Your physical condition has fully met the Hashiman Tonku's standards, so mastering the first 3 shouldn't be difficult for you. After leaving Hulk alone in the training room to memorize Hashiman Tonkus, Rog told Hinata to pay attention to Hulk's situation at all times, lest Hulk destroy his training room in a fit of excitement. After that, he returned to his office and dialed Secretary of State Ross' phone number. He didn't say too much to Ross, just simply told him that he's back and then hung up the phone. Then he summoned the Yondaime Hokage's Haori from the summon scroll, which he hasn't worn for a long time, as well as the Thunder Fan and the Kusanagi sword. The Yondaime Hokage hasn't appeared in front of people for a long time, and now it's time for a high-profile return ceremony. After putting on the Haori's Haori, and wearing the Thunder Fan and the Kusanagi sword, Kuroto pushed open the huge window of the office and flew out using the super light rock technique. In a few seconds he flew over the gate of Konoha's intelligence agency, overlooking the protesters below. Since the establishment of Konoha's intelligence agency, the most intuitive evaluation of Konoha's is. But now the protesters below seem to have completely forgotten Konoha's domineering style. Just as Rog, who was floating in the air, looked at the protesters in front of Konoha's headquarters gate, a reporter standing outside the protest crowd moved his sore neck. Then he saw Rog floating in the air. This person is? At the first sight of Rog, the male reporter couldn't recognize him for a while. Instead, he thought about who in Konoha has the ability to fly. After a few seconds, the male reporter in a black suit suddenly widened his eyes, and looked up at Rog in the air with a look of disbelief. The Yondaime Hokage Rog. In Konoha, only the Yondaime Rog has the ability to fly. After realizing this, the male reporter excitedly patted the cameraman next to him, indicating the cameraman to turn the camera. This is big news. The Yondaime Hokage, who hasn't appeared for a long time, personally appeared at the scene of the protest. This will definitely make tomorrow's headlines. However, the cameraman next to the male reporter didn't have time to turn the camera. Rog, who was floating in the air, hit the ground like a meteor. Rog didn't control his speed, and directly made a superhero's landing. Boom. A huge impact sounded, and the ground under Rog's feet cracked like a spider web. Rog's landing immediately suppressed the protests at the scene. The originally manic protesters, at this time as if the mute button was pressed, quietly watched Rog landing in front of Konoha's headquarters gate. Rog's white eyes glanced at the suddenly quiet crowd, and then said in a cold tone, "Are you dissatisfied with Konoha?" Chapter 407. In an instant all the cameras were aimed at Rog, who was falling from the sky, and the dazzling flashes continued to light up. No one thought that Rog would appear at the scene of the protest at this time, and in such an unfriendly way. Unlike the protesters who suddenly quieted down and showed a panicked look, the reporters present couldn't help but smile. Big news. This is big news in the true sense. Protests like this have happened countless times in the past 6 months. Even the news media and the vast majority of the audience have lost interest in these daily protests. If it weren't to avoid missing big events such as the scene of Hulk killing at the scene of the protest, these news media wouldn't even be interested in arranging for reporters to come. After all, the same drama has been staged for 6 months in a row, and the audience has long been tired of it. Therefore, the reporters sent by the media were either small-time reporters who weren't famous, or people who were on the fringe of the station. However, no one thought that. It was such an ordinary protest that attracted the fourth Hokage, Rog, who hasn't shown up for a long time. Rog ignored the reporters and just looked at the protesters in front of him with a cold expression. Time passed by second under the strong pressure of Rog. These originally fanatical protesters are now like frosted eggplants, completely deflated. Just when Rog was considering whether to release some killing intent to scare away these people who don't know the immensity of heaven and earth, a strong man in his 30s came out of the crowd. Yes, we are dissatisfied with Konoha. We are not only dissatisfied with Konoha, we are also dissatisfied with you superheroes who ignore human life. The man was a little afraid at first, but after seeing Rog not saying a word, his courage suddenly surged into his heart and he spoke loudly to Rog. We don't need your protection, we want. However, just when the man planned to completely occupy the initiative of public opinion, Rog, who was 5 or 6 meters away from him, suddenly appeared in front of him like a ghost. What do you want to do? Do you want to stop me with violence? I tell you, we are not afraid of you, Roger didn't let the man continue to blabber on. With a roundhouse kick, he viciously kicked the man's chest, sending him flying. Although Rog didn't use much strength, the man couldn't resist his roundhouse kick and flew out in an instant, knocking over the crowd behind him. No one thought that Rog would actually dare to do it, and in front of the protesters and reporters. After kicking the man, Rog stood in the same place with a gloomy face and said in a cold tone, "All of you get out of here." For a time, a biological instinct, a sense of crisis emerged in everyone's heart. This time, Rog directly released a small portion of his killing intent. Roger's murderous intent instantly suppressed the anger that was about to ignite in the protesters, once again turning them into frosted eggplants. You dare to kick me? You're finished. Did you see that? This is the self-proclaimed superhero Yondaime Hokage. He attacked innocent people like this. The other protesters, because of the killing intent released by Rog, didn't dare to make a sound. However, the man who was kicked away by Roger didn't feel the killing intent released by Roger because of the pain, or because he was blinded by anger, pointed at Roger and shouted loudly. Roger didn't know if it was because of the pain, or because he was blinded by anger. Looking at the excited man who couldn't wait to point his finger at his face, Rog put his left hand on the Kusanagi sword at his waist. Just as the man continued to loudly encourage the crowd around him, trying to suppress Rog with the power of public opinion, Rog once again flashed in front of him. But this time with Rog came the Kusanagi sword in his hand. Watch. The Kusanagi sword, without the lightning and chakra, drew a silver-white arc and directly cut through the man's neck. In the next second, a head with an exaggerated expression and bright red blood flew into the air. Like a basketball that had been missed, it fell into the crowd. Inciting ignorant people, slandering state officials, attacking state intelligence agencies according to the relevant laws, beheading on the spot. After wiping the blood off the Kusanagi sword, Rog said expressionlessly. After that, Rog turned his head to look at the camera on the left and continued, "In order to protect the life and property of every citizen of the United States, from today onwards, Konoha Intelligence Agency will investigate all related protests according to the law and arrest the people behind the scenes." Rog's words were broadcasted in the first place, and in the form of breaking news, it appeared on the major media news channels. In fact, not long after he appeared on the scene, the reporters on the scene urgently contacted the live broadcast room and broadcast the scene for the first time. Looking at the scene where Rog kicked the man and then directly killed him, all the people who watched this scene had the same thought in their mind. Konoha Intelligence Agency is really going to make a move. However, Rog's declaration didn't end there. When he put on the Kusanagi sword that was no longer stained with blood, he said again, "I, Rog, the current director of Konoha Intelligence Agency, now authorize the operations of Konoha Intelligence Agency according to the law. During the operation of Konoha's relevant personnel, if there is any obstruction, the personnel can use force according to the law to kill the obstructor. For the relevant personnel who obstruct Konoha's operations or assist the people behind the protest to avoid investigation, Konoha will fully investigate their social relations and do its best to protect the safety of citizens and the state." Although Rog said it very euphemistically, as long as one has the basic ability to think, they can see the real meaning of this authorization declaration. Simply put, if you participate in protests or obstruct Konoha's investigation, Konoha's personnel will not only kill you, but also investigate your family, parents, and friends. Of course, The means of investigation may be a bit different from the civil rights of citizens. However, this is not the first time Konoha has done this kind of thing. When Konoha captured the remaining members of Hydra, Konoha did something similar. It's just that at that time, Rog didn't disclose the authority of Konoha's personnel to the public. But this time, not only did he directly disclose the authority of Konoha's personnel to the public, but he also did it after killing a protester. Rog is different from Tani and others. He has no feelings for this country. More importantly, he won't be bound by public opinion or official procedures like Tani and others. Violence can't solve all problems, but sometimes, violence is the best way to solve problems. Chapter 408. What Rog made at this time was not so much a declaration of authorization to the personnel of Konoha's intelligence agency, but a naked threat to the protesters. He was not in the mood to fight with these protesters. He wanted to solve these annoying guys in the simplest and most violent way. If there is really a guy who is not afraid of death, then he doesn't mind letting them see what is called Konoha's hegemony. After living in the United States for so many years, he fully understood one truth, that is, the people of the United States have a general mentality of being strong. As long as you are stronger than them, as long as you can show absolute power that they can't resist, they would become like trained pet dogs, obedient to their master's every command. After issuing a threat to the camera that was broadcasting in real time, Rog didn't intend to stay here. He directly used the super light rock technique to fly up and flew toward the temporary military camp station not far from Konoha's headquarters. After solving the protests from ordinary people, it is natural to drive away the watchdogs arranged by the military. Watching Rog's figure quickly disappear into the distance, the protesters and reporters gathered in front of the gate of Konoha's intelligence agency showed a complex look of anger and fear. Anger because of Rog's straightforward threat. Fear stemmed from the memory of Logue's terrifying strength. Not long after Rog left, the protesters who had gathered in front of Konoha's gate for several days immediately disappeared. Even the various garbage left by them was cleaned up by them. Rog is not worried about whether the protesters will continue to gather in front of Konoha's gate and refuse to leave. If these people still don't leave when he returns to Konoha, then they don't have to think about leaving. Using thunder-like means to solve the various protests facing Konoha and the Restoration Alliance is something he has planned for a long time. However, he didn't tell Tani and others about his plan. Not long after, Rog flew over the temporary military camp a few kilometers away from Konoha's headquarters and looked at the army below. Without any hesitation, he made another superhero landing and landed directly in the center of the military camp. Boom! The sound of a huge collision rang out, like the sound of a bugle horn, causing the entire military camp to come alive. Within a few seconds, several heavily armed teams came to the vicinity of Rog, looking vigilantly at the fourth Hokage who fell from the sky. Who is the supreme commander here? Rog ignored the muzzles aimed at him and said expressionlessly. If it was under normal circumstances, an intruder, like him, would definitely be attacked immediately. However, because of his identity, the soldiers in charge of security did not dare to pull the trigger. Although the fourth Hokage Rog is not like other superheroes who often carry out heroic actions to uphold justice. However, whether it was the warriors present or the ordinary people who were not present, none of them had ever doubted his strength. Some curious ordinary people, as well as some seemingly bored investigation organizations, had done some rigorous calculations on Rog's strength. The result of the calculation was that Rog alone can defeat the entire Avengers. Although Rog has not really fought with the Avengers, this calculation result, which was released by an unofficial investigation organization, was not only not denied by people, but also received a large number of support from the public. I am the commander here, Colonel Jess. Not long after Rog asked, a middle-aged man in camouflage came to him and looked at him with a serious face. I will give you half an hour to evacuate. After half an hour, if you still let me see you, you will bear the consequences. After threatening the ordinary people, Rog now threatened the military. I did not receive an evacuation order from the army. Although facing Rog, who is far stronger than himself, Colonel Jess did not show any fear and said in a serious tone, "This is not an order from the army, it is my order. Remember, you only have half an hour." After saying that, Rog did not continue to pay attention to Colonel Jess and the soldiers around him, and flew again in the direction of Konoha's headquarters. Before flying back to his office, Rog took a look at the current situation of Konoha's gate. Yes, they left very thoroughly. At this time, in front of Konoha's gate, except for the body and head that were beheaded by his sword, no one could be seen. Compared with some time ago, the current Konoha's gate can be said to be empty, making people feel relaxed and happy. After flying back to his office from the huge open window, Rog directly called Hinata. Hinata, get someone to dispose of the garbage in front of the gate. In addition, investigate the social background of this guy and see if there is any scroll behind him. The so-called garbage in Rog's mouth was the body with its head separated from its body. Just a few seconds after he ordered Hinata, the phone on the desk rang. Are you crazy? Do you know what you just did? You killed an American citizen in a live broadcast, an American citizen with legal status. Before Roger had the chance to speak, Tony on the other end of the phone spoke in a loud voice that was close to a roar. Tony didn't expect that just more than 10 minutes ago, they were still discussing how to deal with the Skrulls in Konoha's headquarters. In the end, as soon as he turned around, Roger killed an American citizen in a live broadcast. The people are protesting, the impeachment documents are piling up in Capitol Hill, you are making Konoha and the Restoration Alliance the public enemy of the United States. Tani on the other side of the phone roared. Calm down. I can assure you that none of what you've said will happen. Compared with the extremely emotional Tani, Rog's face was calm at this time. Now he was even thinking about what to eat for his first dinner after returning to Earth. Would you like to have a traditional Chinese meal or a French feast? What guarantee do you have? You're just adding fuel to the fire. Tani in an emotional state completely lost his usual calm, like a politician who was robbed of all his power by his political enemies. First of all, if there really is a guy who is not afraid of death and dares to do this, I don't mind letting Konoha's Special Warfare Team act as an assassination team. Secondly, if you always follow the rules, you will never be able to deal with the Skrulls who don't follow the rules. Finally, this is an important truth that I learned from my last trip in the universe. I will share it with you now. As long as your fist is big enough, not to mention dealing with a country, even if you slaughter an entire planet, no one will dare to say anything. This was something that Roger had learned from Thanos. It was a principle that he had known for a long time, but he had never used it. Chapter 409. Although Thanos's family planning theory was not well learned, his decisiveness in dealing with things was still worth learning. Especially the kind of resolute attitude that, in order to achieve the goal regardless of everything, and even at the expense of half of the lives in the universe, is an example that every planner should learn. Of course, what Rog recognized was only the decisiveness and determination shown by Thanos, not his crazy plan. If he was in Thanos's perspective, he would never adopt such a simple and crude plan with extremely unstable benefits. The concept of family planning and sustainable development is the real artifact to complete Thanos's ideal. Instead of simply destroying half of the lives to ensure that the existing resources in the universe can meet the development of various races. If there is a chance, Rog doesn't mind talking to Thanos about this. You are hegemonism, and you will not be loved and recognized by people. After listening to Rog's sharing, Tani was silent for more than 10 seconds and then continued. Although Tani still can't accept Rog's idea, his mood has obviously calmed down a lot. People's love and recognition? Tani, are you mistaken? I don't need people's love and recognition, and Konoha doesn't need it either. Although the people outside call us superheroes, to be honest, I have no interest in this so-called hero title at all. At this point, Rog paused and then said in a very serious tone, I never wanted to be a hero. I just want to protect the people around me and maintain my current life. I don't mind helping ordinary people who need help, and I can also use my own ability to maintain peace. However, the premise of all this is that I am willing to do it. If I have such strength, I have to help or save others unconditionally. This is not a superhero, this is called moral kidnapping. So, I don't care what others will think of me. Even if people outside say that I am a cold-blooded butcher or an overbearing dictator, I don't care at all. Rog didn't want to talk to Tani about this, but after hearing Tani naively say the words hegemonism and people's love, he felt that it was necessary to let Tani know his true thoughts. Speaking of hegemonism, the United States is the biggest hegemonism on the earth. Tani didn't expect that Rog's ideas would be so extreme. But thinking about it, what he said still made some sense. Although his approach was a little tough, he still controlled his actions and didn't really start a massacre or go on a rampage. Forget it, that's it. Since you dare to do this, it means that you are sure. After saying that helplessly, Tony hung up the phone. After ending the call with Tony, Roger didn't stay idle and immediately issued the latest action orders to all action teams in Konoha in the name of the director of Konoha's intelligence agency. With New York and Washington as the center, thoroughly investigate all protest actions. Since the Skrull people used the card of encouraging people to protest superheroes, then Rog didn't mind directly tearing up this card. The practice of public pressure may be useful for native superheroes like Tawny. But for Rog, who doesn't play by the rules at all, it doesn't make sense at all. Only when people care about public opinion and people's evaluation, this kind of public pressure will have the desired effect. What Rog did was to openly stand on the opposite side of public opinion and directly use force to threaten these people. Only magic can deal with magic, similarly only hooligans can deal with hooligans. And Rog is the hooligan with the bigger fist. More than half an hour later, he used chakra perception to perceive the situation at the temporary military camp. As he expected, after he personally appeared and issued a threat, the military behind the temporary military camp chose to take a step back and withdraw the troops stationed near Konoha's headquarters. After solving the public opinion and official surveillance, Rog didn't plan to continue for the time being. The Skrull people's shape-shifting ability allows them to easily hide in the crowd. So before there is any more reliable information, he won't plan to make a move. After throwing the Kusanagi sword, Thunder Fan, Haori, and other equipment back into the summon scroll, Rog returned to the practice room. At first he was a little worried that when Hulk memorized the contents of the Hashiman Tanku, he would involuntarily practice it and then collapse his practice room. But when he returned to the practice room, he found that he somewhat overestimated Hulk's memory. At this time, more than half an hour has passed since he left the practice room, but Hulk didn't even remember the contents of the first door. This progress is a bit worrying. Memorizing the contents of the practice is the simplest step in practicing the Hashiman Tanku. But this simple step has become the most difficult step for Hulk. Looking at Hulk, who was painfully reciting the contents of the 8 inner hidden gates as if he were reciting an ancient poem, Roger sighed. He walked over to Hulk's side and became Hulk's tutor. With Rog's help, Hulk's memorization process has significantly improved. In the end, after spending nearly 2 hours, Hulk successfully memorized the first 5 of the Hashiman Tanku. That's it for today. You can deepen your understanding tonight, and tomorrow I will formally teach you how to practice. After Hinata arranged a room for Hulk that fits his figure, Rog used the portal magic to return to the secret nest in New York and had a pleasant dinner with Gwen. Because of the protests, Gwen hasn't done anything heroic for a long time. Now she put most of her energy into her studies, doing what a female university student should do. The next morning when Gwen went to class, Rog returned to the office at Konoha's headquarters and turned on the TV to watch the latest news reports. Basically, every news channel was reporting on his public declaration yesterday, and there were also many current affairs commentators who gave a detailed and tactful evaluation of his declaration yesterday. Meticulous meant that they had analyzed every single word he said. Euphemism means that they tacitly ignored the naked threat in it, and focused on the legitimacy of the protest and the discussion of Konoha's authority to act. At the end of the news, basically every news mentioned something that everyone knew, but there was some irony in it. The fierce protest that lasted for more than half a year all disappeared the day after Rog's declaration. There were no protests, no demonstrations, everything seemed to have returned to half a year ago. Chapter 410. In Rog's private practice room, Hulk, wearing special black shorts, excitedly waited for the arrival of Rog. After completely memorizing the cultivation contents of the first 5 gates of the 8 inner hidden gates, Hulk became more and more expectant of the power of the 8 inner hidden gates. Now he has begun to fantasize about opening the 3rd gate of life and his whole body exudes green light. Under Hulk's expectant face, Rog, who had just finished breakfast, came to the practice room. How was your rest last night? Did you understand the content of the 8 inner hidden gates again? Rog asked casually as he came in front of Hulk. Yes. Hulk has reviewed the 8 inner hidden gates. Hulk likes the 8 inner hidden gates. Hulk waved his fist excitedly and answered with full spirit. That's good. Since you have reviewed it, let's get started. After that, Rog explained to Hulk how to open the first gate of the 8 inner hidden gates. For Rog, opening the first gate of life is not difficult, because he only needs to accurately manipulate chakra to stimulate the brain nerves according to the cultivation content, and he can unlock the restrictions of the brain domain, allowing himself to exert 100% of his physical ability. However, this is not an easy thing for Hulk without chakra. However, Roger had already considered this, so he had prepared a plan for Hulk that was suitable for him. Gamma energy. The reason why Dr. Banner can transform from an ordinary person into Hulk is because Dr. Banner has been exposed to a lot of gamma energy radiation. This gamma energy radiation, which is enough to kill people, Not only did it not take Dr. Banner's life, but it also completely transformed his body, allowing him to transform into the powerful Hulk when his emotions are excited and his heartbeat is accelerating. When Dr. Banner does not transform, the gamma energy in his body will be dormant like hibernation. When he transforms into Hulk, this gamma energy is completely awakened and Hulk appears. To some extent, every cell in Hulk's body contains a lot of gamma energy. Although the gamma energy was not chakra, the gamma energy in Hulk's body was the same as the chakra in Rog's body. They both originated from their bodies. Therefore, this gamma energy could be considered as Hulk's unique chakra. This speculation has been repeatedly calculated by Hinata and finally proved to be correct. In addition, even if there is something wrong with Hinata's calculation with Hulk's physical strength, he can completely resist all the consequences. Do you still remember the illusions I left in your mind when I first taught you how to fight? I remember. Hulk hasn't forgotten. Although Hulk didn't know why Rog suddenly mentioned this, he still answered Rog's question immediately. Now, I'm going to do the same thing to you again. But this time what I left for you is not some illusion of fighting, but a cultivation method, a method that will allow you to extract energy from your own body. Chakra is the product of the combination of physical energy and spiritual energy. Rog can't teach Hulk how to have spiritual energy, but he can teach Hulk how to extract physical energy, that is, how to extract the gamma energy in his body. As long as Hulk can successfully extract gamma energy from his own body and master this gamma energy, then the Hashiman Tanku will no longer have any barriers for Hulk to practice. No problem. Hulk nodded heavily, indicating that he understood. At the same time, Rog also changed his white eyes into 3 Tomo Sharingan. Then he used the first genjutsu he developed on Hulk. Sharingan Genjutsu, false memory. In an instant, Hulk's spirit left the real world and came to an empty green space. Just as Hulk looked at this boundless green space in a daze, Rog's figure gradually appeared in front of him. This time will be different from the last time. Last time, I left you a teaching scene so that you can slowly learn and comprehend it. And this time I'm going to force you a little bit. Hulk looked at Rog in front of him with a puzzled face. You will understand soon. As soon as his voice fell, a large section of chakra refining insights selected by Rog was forcibly stuffed into Hulk's mind. After yesterday's recitation incident, he no longer has any expectations for Hulk's comprehension and memory. Instead of slowly guiding Hulk to understand what is going on, it is better to forcibly instill his own insights into him. If it was an ordinary person, after suddenly having such a large piece of insight in his mind, it is inevitable that he will feel a headache and discomfort. However, Hulk, whose physique is far beyond ordinary people, is like nothing happened. It is as if he suddenly had a strange dream, experienced an experience that belongs to others, and gained a large piece of insight that belongs to others. This is how to refine your own body's energy or how to refine energy from your own cells. In your cells, there is a large amount of gamma energy. If you want to practice the Hashiman Tanku, you need to learn how to refine and control this energy that is originally in your body, and use it as chakra. I have given you the method and insight, the rest is up to you. There is one more thing: if you can't learn it, you will not be able to leave this green space. As soon as his voice fell, Rog's figure turned into a group of black crows, flying in all directions and finally disappeared completely in this empty green space. Rog's consciousness returned to his body, and Hulk's consciousness was trapped in the green space without an exit. At this time, Hulk was like a puppet that had lost its soul, standing motionless in the same place, like a completely super-realistic figurine. Unlike the previous genjutsu, false memory, this genjutsu, false memory will not be automatically lifted. Either Hulk mobilizes the gamma energy in his body to break through the genjutsu space, or he can only wait until the eye power left by Rog in his body is exhausted. Before coming to the cultivation room, Rog deliberately looked at the current Guinness Book of Records for the longest time without eating or drinking and surviving. This is the highest record of not eating or drinking that he found. Taking into account Hulk's physique that is far beyond that of ordinary people, he left enough eye power in Hulk's body to maintain genjutsu, false memory, for a month. Hinata, monitor Hulk's vital signs at all times. If there is an accident, inform me immediately. Roger said to Hinata, who was everywhere, and then planned to leave the training room directly. However, just as he was about to use quantum transmission to return directly to the office, Hulk in front of him suddenly moved. Before Rog had time to check the situation of the genjutsu in Hulk's body, a green light burst out from Hulk's body like a supernova explosion, instantly occupying all his sight. Boom. Chapter 411. Holy shit. Rog didn't expect that as soon as he told Hinata to pay attention to Hulk's situation, Hulk would have an accident immediately. What surprised him even more was that the green energy burst out so fast and powerful that he didn't even have time to cast a defensive ninjutsu. Just when the green energy that seemed to destroy everything hit him, Rog didn't hesitate and used his fastest teleportation skill. Flying Thor technique. Until now, Rog has mastered a total of 3 teleportation skills, namely Flying Thor technique, quantum transmission, and teleportation gate magic. Among these 3 teleportation skills, Flying Thor is the fastest one, whether it's casting speed or teleportation speed. In just a moment, Rog was teleported from the practice room to his office. Then he felt a terrifying tremor that was not much weaker than a magnitude 9 earthquake. At this moment, the entire Konoha headquarters building shook violently, and cracks of different sizes appeared on the walls and floor. Fortunately, the terrifying tremors left as quickly as they came. Within a few seconds, the terrible vibration disappeared. Hinata, immediately calculate the damage and rescue the wounded. After instructing Hinata, Rog didn't wait for Hinata's reply and used the Flying Thor technique to return to the practice room. When he was on Sokka, he left a secret Flying Thor technique on Hulk. It's just that he didn't expect that after returning to Earth, he would still need to use this Flying Thor technique. When Rog returned to the practice room, he saw a broken room that seemed to have been bombed by dozens of missiles. If he wasn't certain that this was his specially enhanced private training room, Rog would have suspected that he had come to a battlefield in the Middle East that was constantly at war all year round. The originally bright and clean practice room was like a dilapidated dark basement at this time, with broken walls and scattered rubble everywhere. In the center of this broken wall, with only a faint red light, stood a tall figure with eyes that constantly emitted a strange green light. This is Hulk. Rog's reason told him that the figure was Hulk. However, Hulk's demon-like eyes, as well as the terrifying aura he emitted, made him hesitate. The person standing in front of him now is not so much Hulk, but a demon that occupied Hulk's body. At this time, Rog's mind appeared in the form of Hulk that only appeared in the parallel world. Demon Hulk. Or rather, the immortal Hulk. Damn it, I'm not that unlucky, right? Looking at Hulk not far away without any movement, Rog sighed helplessly. He was just teaching Hulk how to refine and control the gamma energy in his body. How did it end up like this? Although Hinata hasn't counted the damage to Konoha headquarters, Rog can roughly imagine what the current Konoha's headquarters looks like. It probably wouldn't be any better than S.H.I.E.L.D.'s triple curved wing headquarters, which he had destroyed back then. Hulk, are you okay? Roger shouted at Hulk, who was not far away from him. After waiting patiently for a few seconds, Rog didn't hear any answer from Hulk. At this time, Hulk not only didn't answer his question, but his body didn't even move. After thinking quickly in his mind for a few seconds, Rog immediately made a decision. No matter what kind of state Hulk is in now, he must take Hulk away from Konoha headquarters as soon as possible. Konoha's headquarters, which has been destroyed by a terrifying explosion once, can't withstand the second damage brought by Hulk. After making up his mind, Rog's spirit quickly connected to the Flying Thor technique on Hulk's body and the Flying Thor technique he left in an unknown forest in the suburbs of New York. Let Hulk stay away from the crowd and the city first, and then solve Hulk's strange state. Rog's mind moved and he used the Flying Thor. In the blink of an eye, he came behind Hulk like a ghost and stretched out his right hand towards Hulk's shoulder. As long as he can grab Hulk's shoulder, he can use the Flying Thor to take Hulk away from here completely. However, just as his right hand was about to grab Hulk's shoulder, Hulk, who was motionless, showed a shocking reaction speed. Turn around. Punch. Hulk, with his amazing size, was like an extremely dexterous assassin at this time, completing a series of movements between turning around and punching in an instant. The right fist, which was bigger than Rog's head, hit his right hand like a cannonball. Damn it. He doesn't know why, but at this time, Hulk made Rog feel the momentum of Thanos. In order to avoid his right hand being hit by Hulk's right fist, he had no choice but to give up. Lightning body flicker. The silver-white electric snake appeared, and Rog's figure disappeared instantly. In the next second, Hulk's right fist passed through these remaining electric snakes in place, and the gamma energy covered on his right fist hit the wall that was already full of holes like a laser cannon. Boom. Without any suspense, this wall, which was specially reinforced with steel, shattered with a loud bang in front of the laser cannon-like gamma energy. The steel plate, which was 5 or 6 centimeters in size, was punched out by Hulk with a hole of tens of centimeters. Is this still Hulk? At this moment, Rog even felt that the person in front of him was not Hulk, but some Super Saiyan. Hulk, who didn't know any energy attacks before, now showed an extremely skilled energy attack. Although Hulk only used his right fist to launch an energy attack like a laser cannon, the energy control skills involved were not much worse than Chidori and Rasengan. Using the lightning body flicker, Rog smoothly dodged Hulk's punch and successfully opened a distance of more than 10 meters from Hulk. Looking at the steel plate that was punched out by Hulk, his face began to become very serious. Before Hulk retracted his right fist, Rog took out a flying Thor kunai from the ninja tool bag, and then took a deep breath. Lightning body flicker. Without any hesitation, Rog rushed towards Hulk again. Just like before, just when he was about to reach in front of Hulk, Hulk, whose eyes were emitting green light, once again punched out his right fist towards him. Flying Thor. Just as Hulk punched, Rog's figure disappeared in front of him and flashed behind Hulk. If it was the previous Hulk, it would have been impossible for him to keep up with Rog's speed, and he could only helplessly endure the attacks from behind. However, the current Hulk is completely different from the previous Hulk. Just when Rog had just arrived behind him with the Flying Thunder God, Hulk once again showed dexterity and speed that were completely different from before, forcibly turning his body and facing Rog head-on. Hulk's instantaneous turn was completely within Rog's expectations. He had already seen it once, so how could he overlook this point? The speed of Hulk's turn can't be said to be slow, but at the moment when he just showed signs of turning around, Rog threw out the Flying Thor kunai in his hand. Hulk completed his turn in an instant, and the Flying Thor kunai thrown by Rog also flew over his shoulder at the same moment. Flying Thor Second Dan. At the moment when the Flying Thor kunai flew over Hulk's shoulder, Rog, who used the Flying Thor Second Dan, grabbed the handle of the Flying Thor kunai with his right hand, and grabbed Hulk's shoulder with his left hand. Flying Thor. At the moment when his left hand successfully touched Hulk's shoulder, Rog once again used the Flying Thor. Chapter 412. In the suburbs of New York, in an unknown undeveloped forest. Relying on the continuous cooperation between the Flying Thor and the Flying Thor, Rog successfully brought the suspected demon Hulk away from the Konoha headquarters and came to this unknown forest with few people. After bringing Hulk into the forest, Rog didn't stay too long with Hulk and once again used the lightning chakra blink to open the distance. Then he carefully perceived Hulk's current state. Chakra perception technique. Rog first used chakra perception technique to confirm Hulk's current state. As before, the life energy in Hulk's body was so rich that it was not like a normal creature. In addition, Rog also sensed the active gamma energy in Hulk's body for the first time. In the past, the gamma energy in Hulk's body would fuse with Hulk's life energy in the form of cell energy and vitality. At this time, the gamma energy showed its original active state for the first time. In Rog's perception, the gamma energy in Hulk's body was like a gamma star, always in a sun-like nuclear fusion state, constantly emitting heat. The reason why Hulk's eyes showed this demon-like green light was because the gamma energy in his body was too active. In terms of life form, the current Hulk can be said to be too healthy, and there is no sign of his body collapsing or being damaged by gamma energy. There is nothing wrong with Hulk's body, and he is even stronger than he has ever been. But his mental state is not good at all. Rog is now completely unable to sense the eye power he left in Hulk's body, and he can't sense Hulk's consciousness. According to common sense, Hulk should have completely gotten rid of the shackles of genjutsu, false memory at this time. However, the mental state that Hulk displayed was completely different from that. The current Hulk, rather than using his consciousness to control his body, is more like his instinct to control his body. Whether it is the illogical reaction speed and dexterous movements he showed before, or his skillful energy manipulation skills, they are all like his body's instinctive reaction, not his conscious control. Hey big guy. Although I don't know what's wrong with you, I can't let you continue like this. Rog shouted at Hulk, then continued, so if I hit you harder later, don't blame me when you wake up. After saying that, Rog didn't care whether Hulk could understand him or not and directly mobilized the chakra in his body. However, it was different from the past. This time he did not use his own chakra but the nine-tailed chakra. In an instant, the blood-red nine-tailed chakra gushed out from his body like a flaming tornado. After practicing in Konoha for half a year, the resonance between him and Kyuubi has improved a little. Resonance degree, 4. This was the degree of resonance between him and Ninetails half a year ago. Resonance degree, 6. This was his harvest after half a year of hard work in Konoha. Of course, the harvest of half a year of hard work is not only the improvement of the resonance degree, but also the amount of chakra in his body has improved a little. Because of the further development of the sage body, the amount of chakra in his body has also increased from 5 tails to 6 tails. It has reached a perfect balance with the amount of chakra that he can control now. The degree of resonance with QB has further strengthened, and it has not only brought about a change in the amount of chakra. More importantly, it has allowed him to master the simple and violent nine-tailed mode. To be precise, it is not the nine-tailed mode, but a state of balance between berserk and non-berserk. With the continuous emergence of QB chakra, Rog's body was covered with a layer of blood-red chakra coat. At the same time, 6 tails composed entirely of chakra emerged from his back waist. Chakra materialization. This is not a strange experience for Rog. Susanoo is a huge human form formed by chakra. However, compared with Susanoo, QB chakra materialization is relatively more painful. Susanoo uses its own chakra, so even if there is some pain, it is not particularly strong. But QB's chakra is completely different. This is a chakra that comes from the outside world, and there is a natural sense of rejection with his own body. If he wants to completely eliminate the pain caused by QB chakra materialization, he must establish a perfect bond with QB, that is, after the resonance degree reaches 9, these side effects will be completely eliminated. Although being covered by QB chakra will bring constant pain, this pain is still within the range of Rog's tolerance. When the 6-tailed QB chakra coat on Rog's body was completely formed, Hulk, who was only passively attacking, took the initiative for the first time. Although he is not sure whether the current Hulk is the so-called Demon Hulk, Rog has decided to treat him as the Demon Hulk. This is the main reason why he used the incomplete QB mode. To deal with this Demon Hulk, who can release gamma energy at any time, QB mode will be more useful than Sage mode. Of course, this is also related to him wanting to violently awaken Hulk's consciousness. There is no need for any communication. The moment Rog's QB chakra coat was formed, Demon Hulk with green eyes rushed towards him like a high-speed train. Facing the prehistoric behemoth-like Demon Hulk, Rog did not have any intention of retreating or dodging, and also rushed towards Demon Hulk. The distance of dozens of meters passed in the blink of an eye. Demon Hulk's right fist covered in gamma energy collided with Rog's right fist covered in QB chakra. In the next second, there was a loud collision sound that resounded through the sky. Rumble. 2 fists that completely broke through the speed of sound and carried infinite energy collided. Sonic booms, collision sounds, explosion sounds. 3 completely different sounds merged together and evolved into a terrifying sound that can't be described with words. The shock wave was like a tsunami that passed through everything in the surroundings, lifting the nearby soil, stones, and trees. The red and green energy that intertwined like camouflage bloomed with a dazzling light like a nuclear explosion. The air vibrated in ripples visible to the naked eye, and the earth shook crazily like an earthquake. Hulk and Rog did not hold back at all, and crazily released their respective energy. Gamma energy and QB chakra displayed their terrifying power, announcing their existence to the whole world. Chapter 413. The first time they fought, they were evenly matched. Rog's 9-tailed chakra and Hulk's gamma energy couldn't suppress each other. Almost at the same time, they attacked each other again. Rumble. Rog's left fist and Hulk's left fist collided fiercely. Another explosion resounded through the sky. Red and green violent energies wreaked havoc in the air. The originally messy forest, under the erosion of the energy storm, directly changed the terrain. The plants and soil on the surface completely disappeared, and the earth seemed to have been directly cut off, and a circular pit with a diameter of hundreds of meters appeared out of thin air. After another tie, Rog and Hulk chose to retreat at the same time. If it was the previous Hulk, he would never choose to retreat. However, at this time he was completely following his instincts to fight, and for the first time he made an unprecedented retreat that he would never consider in the past. After pulling away, Rog and Hulk seriously looked at each other. In the previous fight, neither of them had the upper hand. However, they both knew the approximate level of each other's current strength. In terms of physical strength, Rog was not as good as Hulk. However, the existence of the 9-tailed chakra coat made up for his lack of physical strength. Similarly, in terms of energy intensity, Hulk was not as good as Rog. However, the appearance of gamma energy gave him the confidence to compete with Rog. After a few seconds of confrontation, Rog and Hulk launched a second wave of attacks at the same time. More coincidentally, this time they both chose to attack from a distance. Hulk's incomparably thick right arm was instantly enveloped by green gamma energy, like an energy cannon barrel that was accumulating energy. At the same time, Rog, who was wearing the 9-tailed chakra coat, controlled the 6 tails behind him. At the end of the tails, fist-sized red and blue chakra balls emerged, floating in the air like bubbles. The red chakra balls were condensed from the nine-tailed chakra. The light blue chakra balls were condensed from Rog's own chakra. When these red and blue chakra balls covered all the space around Rog, these chakra balls, which were just quietly floating, suddenly flew in the same direction, as if they were forcibly attracted by an invisible black hole. Bijadama. Rog was preparing to use Bijadama. The use of the nine-tailed chakra can be divided into two types. One is the nine-tailed chakra mode, which is the so-called nine-tailed mode. Nine-tailed mode is still not used by Rog yet. The other is the tailed beast mode he is now. Under normal circumstances, tailed chakra. In this state, chakra will become violent and aggressive because of the appearance of the tailed chakra. Rog is now in the first stage of the tailed beast mode, the tailed chakra coat stage. After the first stage, the body shape will change significantly, and the color of the tailed chakra will change into a dark red half-tailed beast mode. In the half-tailed beast mode, although chakra will still maintain a roughly human shape, he will fall into a berserk state, and his attack style will be more inclined to the real tailed beast. More importantly, in the half-tailed beast mode, chakra can use an incomplete Bijadama. After the half-tailed beast mode, it is the complete tailed beast mode. In this state, chakra can transform into a tailed beast, showing the complete tailed beast form, and exert 100% of the tailed beast's power, as well as the complete form of Bijadama. Rog, who is only in the first stage of the chakra coat stage, can't use the incomplete Bijadama that can only be used in the half-tailed beast mode. However, compared with other chakra, he has a unique and special trump card: Sharingan and Senjutsu. Of course, it can also be understood as Sharingan and Mokutan. The power of Sharingan and the vitality given by Senjutsu allow him to suppress the berserk side effect of the tailed beast chakra to the greatest extent. Therefore, at this time, although he has not entered the half-tailed beast mode, this does not affect him in the slightest to use the incomplete Bijadama that can only be used in the half-tailed beast mode. The red and blue chakra balls quickly merged together, turning into a basketball-sized black chakra ball. However, in the next second, the black chakra ball began to shrink rapidly, from the size of a basketball to the size of a thumb. Looking at the black chakra ball floating in front of his mouth, Rog hesitated for a second or two. However, in the end he opened his mouth and ate the black chakra ball that was only the size of a thumb. Strictly speaking, this is not eating, but the necessary process before launching the Bijadama. After all, it is impossible for him to open his mouth and take out a Bijadama like a complete tailed beast. Therefore, before launching he needs to do some extra preparations. When Rog swallowed the black chakra ball, Hulk in the distance also made the final preparations. His entire right arm became dazzling as if it was made of gamma energy. A long time ago Rog was curious about a question. That is, what kind of experience is it to swallow an incomplete Bijadama? Today he finally knows the answer to this question. To describe it in one word, it is bursting. When he swallowed the incomplete Bijadama, he felt that his body was like a balloon that was about to burst due to the Bijadama's chakra, and his whole body was filled to the brim. Just when his whole body was about to burst by the chakra, he opened his mouth. Roar! This is not the sound made by Rog, but the incomplete Bijadama that flew out of his mouth and cut through the air. After launching the incomplete Bijadama out of his mouth, Rog's whole body suddenly became incomparably relaxed. That feeling of bursting body quickly disappeared along with the launch of the Bijadama. When Rog launched the Bijadama out of his mouth, Hulk in the distance also launched his strongest punch. A gamma energy beam that looked like the main cannon of a battleship gushed out from Hulk's right fist and flew straight toward the oncoming Bijadama. Although Roger shot out a thumb-sized Bijadama, but with its terrifying flying speed, it left behind afterimages in the air, forming a scene similar to an energy beam. In just a blink of an eye, the Bijadama launched by Rog collided with the gamma energy beam released by Hulk. In the next moment, the dazzling light that enveloped everything became the only color in the world. The dazzling white light completely covered the vision of Rog and Hulk. At this time, the only thing they could feel was the terrifying energy storm that was like a natural disaster. Chapter 4:14. Like a mushroom cloud, an energy storm rose to the sky. Hurricanes, earthquakes, shock waves, high temperatures and other phenomena were born at the same time, forming a terrifying scene like a nuclear explosion. As the two people closest to the explosion point, Rog and Hulk immediately felt the amazing power of the collision between the incomplete Bijadama and the gamma energy. In order to prevent themselves from inexplicably dying in this amazing explosion, a huge amount of energy gushed out from their bodies at the same time, wrapping themselves in layers. The red and green energy storm destroyed everything around it like a natural disaster. The mushroom cloud that rose to the sky was still clearly visible even from tens of miles away. As the initiators of this energy storm, Rog and Hulk did not expect that after the incomplete Bijadama and the gamma energy collided, such a powerful energy storm would erupt. Now they were like two small boats floating in the turbulent sea, in danger of being swallowed by the monstrous waves at any time. Rog tried his best to stabilize his body to avoid being directly blown away by the energy storm. But his persistence only lasted for a short 2 to 3 seconds, and was destroyed by the shock waves set off by the energy storm. Rog, who was covered with the nine-tailed chakra coat, was blown away. Hulk, who burst out with the gamma energy, was not any better. However, at this time, Rog did not have extra energy to pay attention to Hulk's situation. In the end, relying on the nine-tailed chakra coat and the amazing recovery ability of the immortal body, he landed on the ground safely. The shock waves and hurricanes brought by the energy storm blew him hundreds of meters away, making him completely away from his original position. After he landed again, the energy storm, which was not as powerful as a nuclear explosion, finally came to an end and quickly dissipated in the air. When the dazzling light, hurricanes, earthquakes, and other phenomena all disappeared, Rog finally had time to slowly look at the surrounding scenery. This used to be an unexplored forest, but now the forest had completely disappeared. Instead, there was a huge explosion crater with a diameter of several kilometers. A thick layer of the ground was directly shaved off, and the trees outside the explosion crater were also uprooted by the shock waves and hurricanes, falling and scattered on the ground. Compared to the diameter of the explosion crater, the depth of the explosion crater was not worth mentioning, only about 10 to 20 meters. When the soil, stones, branches, and other things that were blown away fell like raindrops, Rog began to look for traces of Hulk. However, after glancing around the explosion crater, he found nothing and did not see Hulk at all. Was he blown away or buried? Rog thought for a few seconds, then directly activated Byakugan. Byakugan. The veins on the sides of his eyes bulged as he activated his 3 supervision abilities: long sight, X-ray, and insight. Under Byakugan's supervision, Rog finally saw Hulk buried in the soil. Hulk had been found, but Roger's expression had also become somewhat unsightly. At this time, Hulk's body was still emitting green gamma energy, but the color was much dimmer. However, this was not the main reason why his face became ugly. Hulk's right hand was gone. It was not an injury, nor was it a fracture. It had completely disappeared. This should not be. Rog was very clear about how strong the energy storm was, so he was even more certain that Hulk, who had the protection of the gamma energy, would never lose his right hand because of the explosion of the energy storm. Even he, whose physique was not as good as Hulk's, was not seriously injured by the energy storm. Of course, it was impossible for Hulk's right hand to be directly taken away by the energy storm. Just as he was thinking about how to deal with this unexpected situation that had completely exceeded his expectations, Hulk, who was buried in the soil, moved again and struggled to climb out of the mound. When Hulk stood up again, his pair of eyes that were emitting green light looked at the wound on his right arm. Then, under Rog's gaze, the cut on Hulk's right arm grew crazily as if it had mutated. Within a few seconds, Hulk's right hand that had disappeared grew back again. This works too? Rog, who witnessed the whole regeneration process, had an incredulous look on his face. Is this still King Hulk? This regeneration ability is not Hulk at all. Looking at Hulk's right hand that had recovered as before, Rog suddenly had a feeling that he seemed to have awakened a demon that had been sleeping for a long time. Forget it, don't think about it. Let's wake up the real Hulk first. After making up his mind, Rog took a deep breath and ran towards Hulk. At this time he did not use the body flicker technique. With the nine-tailed chakra coat, he did not need to use the body flicker technique at all. In this state, his speed was not slower than the body flicker technique. In fact, it was even faster. In the blink of an eye, he crossed a distance of hundreds of meters and flashed in front of Hulk, who was emitting green light. Just like before, after discovering Rog's arrival, Hulk did not hesitate and directly attacked him. Hulk's right fist, which had just regenerated, hit Rog like a cannonball out of the barrel. However, just when his right fist, which was bigger than Rog's head and contained a lot of gamma energy, was about to hit Rog, Rog showed the results of his hard work in Konoha Hidden Village for half a year. 8 trigrams palm, revolving heaven. 8 trigrams palm, revolving heaven is a high-level secret taijutsu of the Hyuga clan main family, which has the name of absolute defense. Although in the world of Naruto, there are several moves with the name of absolute defense. However, on the level of taijutsu, 8 trigrams palm, revolving heaven, which can reflect all physical attacks, does not disgrace this name. Rog's chakra acupoints in his body instantly released a lot of chakra, and his whole body rotated at high speed like a top, instantly creating a hemispherical light blue chakra shield. Although Hulk's right fist contains a lot of gamma energy, his right fist is always in a real physical form. As long as it is a physical attack, Rog is confident that he can bounce it back with revolving heaven. As Rog expected, Hulk's right fist hit the hemispherical chakra shield formed by revolving heaven. Then it was bounced back by the high-speed rotation of chakra shield. The huge rebound force made Hulk involuntarily step back a few steps, and his footsteps became a little staggered. If it weren't for Hulk's huge body and the existence of gamma energy in his body, Rog's 8 trigrams palm revolving heaven would have been enough to bounce him back. Although revolving heaven did not completely bounce Hulk back, it did not affect Rog's next plan in the slightest. Just after Hulk staggered back, Rog stepped forward like Hulk's shadow, and the QB chakra in his palms was instantly replaced by his own chakra. Soft fist, 8 trigrams palm. Chapter 4:15. Like the 8 trigrams palm, revolving heaven, the soft fist technique, 8 trigrams 64 palms is also a secret taijutsu passed down from generation to generation in the Hyuga clan. By attacking the 64 acupoints in the enemy's body, it seals the enemy's chakra flow and causes damage to the enemy's meridian system. Before performing, it is necessary to construct a huge 8 trigrams diagram in the user's mind with himself as the center. The size of the 8 trigrams diagram determines the attack range of the 8 trigrams 64 palms. Due to the difference in strength, the size of the 8 trigrams diagram constructed by each user is different. When he was training hard in Konoha Hidden Village, Rog tested the size of his 8 trigrams diagram. With his position as the center, the range within a radius of 10 meters is within the attack range of his 8 trigrams diagram. Once beyond this distance, his 8 trigrams 64 palms will be at risk of being interrupted. Unlike other moves, if all the 8 trigrams 64 palms cannot hit the opponent, the power of the attack will be significantly reduced. Therefore, whether or not all the 64 palms can be completed becomes the key to whether or not the full power of this move can be fully exerted. Under normal circumstances, Rog will not let the opponent be more than 10 meters away from him, resulting in the interruption of his 8 trigrams 64 palms. However, no one can be sure whether or not accidents will happen in the battle. What Rog can do is to ensure that the 64 palms combo will not be interrupted as much as possible. After approaching the retreating Hulk like a shadow, Rog did not hesitate. His hands were like bullets fired from a Gatling gun, hitting Hulk's body like a storm, forcing Hulk, who was already staggering, to retreat. 2 palms, 4 palms, 8 palms, 16 palms. Relying on the lightning-like speed of his palms, Rog finished the first 16 palms in an instant and hit his chakra into several key acupoints in Hulk's body. Rog's attack speed at this time was fast enough that even Hulk, who was being attacked, could not see his every punch clearly. But for Rog himself, his current palm speed is still too slow, so slow that it makes him dissatisfied. If he was facing a human ninja who had chakra like him, then he would have finished the 8 trigrams 64 palms by now. 8 trigrams 64 palms is a taijutsu that was developed based on the physical condition of a normal human ninja. Therefore, when facing these enemies, there was no need to make any changes to the 64 palms of the 8 trigrams. Because every human ninja's meridian system is the same, the location of the chakra acupoints is also the same, there will never be a situation where the same chakra acupoints appear in different locations. However, what Rog is facing now is not a human ninja, not even a human. Through his Byakugan's X-ray vision, he could clearly see how the gamma energy was flowing through Hulk's body. He knew what form the gamma energy was in and how it was flowing through Hulk's body. To seal the chakra flow of a human ninja, he only needs to attack the 64 chakra acupoints that have long been thoroughly studied. However, if he wants to use his own chakra to seal the gamma energy flow in Hulk's body, Rog needs to find the critical 64 flow nodes again. This also means that he must find these critical energy flow nodes through Byakugan in the shortest time, and use his own chakra to seal the gamma energy flow in Hulk's body through the 64 palms of the 8 trigrams 64 palms. This kind of thing doesn't seem to be particularly difficult. But it's not easy at all to actually implement it. At this time, Rog is not so much performing the 64 palms of the 8 trigram 64 palms that he has practiced. It's better to say that he is looking for the key acupoints in Hulk's body while performing the 64 palms tailored for Hulk. In principle, the 64 palms of the 8 trigram 64 palms that he is currently performing is no different from the Hyuga clans. But in terms of operational difficulty, his current 64 palms of the 8 trigram 64 palms is several orders of magnitude higher than the Hyuga clans. This is the main reason why he is dissatisfied with the speed of his current palm strike. If it was the 64 palms of the 8 trigram 64 palms under normal circumstances, he would have finished all 64 palms by now instead of just finishing the first 16 palms. But fortunately, Hulk hasn't been able to react at this time. Of course, it's also possible that he has already reacted, but he was temporarily unable to resist Rog's rapid attacks. 32 palms. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Rog finished the next 16 palms. When Rog completely finished the 32 palms, Hulk finally found the opportunity to raise his hand and counterattack. However, before he could fully raise his hands, he was forcibly interrupted by Rog, who noticed it in advance. Although raising your hand and punching seems to be a very simple action, in order to complete this simple action, it requires the cooperation of multiple muscle groups in the body to complete this seemingly simple action. In front of Rog, who activated the Byakugan, Hulk's attempt to raise his hand triggered a muscle reaction, which was caught by him in time. In order to interrupt Hulk's idea of counterattack that he shouldn't have, and in order not to interrupt the chain of 64 palms, he even silently adjusted the order of the palms, and the attack that was originally supposed to be made after 50 palms were made in advance. In order to destroy the mobilized muscle groups that Hulk needed to raise his hand in advance, and before the counterattack was formed, he would resolve this counterattack that would occur in the future. At this time, Hulk didn't expect that his actions would be seen through in advance, and the only chance to counterattack was lost in his hands. After neutralizing the counterattack that Hulk had yet to unleash, Roger once again increased the speed of his palm strike, venting the remaining attack onto Hulk's body. 64 palms. When he made the last palm strike, Rog's right palm not only hit his chakra into Hulk's body, but also used all the strength in his body to hit Hulk's chest fiercely, sending him flying. When all 64 palms of the 8 trigrams were finished, Rog did not immediately pursue Hulk, who was sent flying, but stood in place and roared. 64 palms of the 8 trigrams, he has made hundreds of thousands of palms in Konoha Hidden Village. But there had never been a time like this that made him feel such unrestrained pleasure. 8 seconds. This was the time from when he got close to Hulk, to when he finished the 64 palms and sent Hulk flying. In this short 8 seconds, he first used the Byakugan to observe the gamma energy flow in Hulk's body in detail, and then according to Hulk's actual situation he found the 64 key acupoints, and finally all the 64 palms of the 8 trigrams were hit on the established acupoints, completing the first battle of the 8 trigram 64 palms. Chapter 4:16. After venting the uncontrollable excitement in his heart, Rog came to the front of Hulk, who had been blasted away for dozens of meters. At this time Hulk no longer looked the same as before. Although there were no obvious scars on the surface of his body, the green light emitted from Hulk's body had completely disappeared. Not only that, but now Hulk has also lost consciousness in the true sense, lying motionless in the huge crater. Unlike before, although there was no self-consciousness, he was moving under the instinctive control of the body. The damage caused by using Hyuga Soft Fist can only be seen on the surface of the body. It is impossible to accurately see the real damage. In order to confirm Hulk's true state at this time, Rog used the Byakugan's ability to see through Hulk's internal injuries in detail. Of course, when observing Hulk's physical injuries, he took the initiative to avoid some key parts of the lower body, so as not to leave any indelible shadow in his heart. Rog is a very confident man, but his confidence is only based on the situation of normal human beings. Mutant creatures and alien races are not in his comparison standards. It's the same as you can't compare a mouse with a tiger in terms of physique and strength. Although they are both mammals, this comparison is unfair to them. After carefully observing the injuries in Hulk's body with the Byakugan and confirming that he did not leave any irreparable serious injuries to Hulk, Rog removed the Kyubi chakra coat from his body and closed the Byakugan. It's finally done. Looking at Hulk, who had completely fainted, Rog finally breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't think that just teaching Hulk how to refine gamma energy would cause such troublesome consequences. This also made him seriously consider a problem, that is, whether to teach Hulk the practice content of the last 3 gates of Hashimantanku. If the abnormal Hulk, who is very similar to the demon Hulk, opens Hashimantanku, then even if he uses all his cards, he doesn't have much confidence to completely subdue Hulk without harming his life. After taking a look at the crater that looked like it was caused by a nuclear explosion, Rog's body shone with a brilliant aurora-like light. He constructed a hemispherical quantum energy shield, completely enveloping himself and Hulk. In the next second, the brilliant hemispherical quantum energy shield disappeared, and the figures of Rog and Hulk also disappeared completely. After making such a big movement in this unknown forest, as long as the staff of the NSA and the military haven't collectively resigned, then they must have sent an action team here by now. Rog, who had just threatened the military yesterday, doesn't want to meet with these officials. If he could, he even hoped that these officials would ignore what happened in the forest. But he knew that this was just an unrealistic fantasy. Although the energy storm caused by the collision between the incomplete Bijadama and the gamma energy had dissipated, the energy radiation from the explosion still filled every corner of the crater. As long as these official organizations investigated a little, they would be able to find out that the terrifying explosion just now was caused by him and Hulk. But this is not a particularly troublesome thing, it will only slightly stimulate the already sensitive nerves of these officials. Rog didn't take Hulk directly back to Konoha's headquarters, but took Hulk to another unknown forest far away from New York. Before Hulk woke up and figured out what happened to him, Rog would never take Hulk back to Konoha's intelligence agency headquarters. He didn't want to destroy his largest base on Earth. Before Hulk woke up, Rog took the time to go to the supermarket in a nearby city and bought some necessities for outdoor life and barbecue. If there is no accident, Hulk won't be able to return to Konoha's intelligence agency headquarters and the Federation headquarters before he completely put an end to the hidden dangers. When night fell, Rog began his traditional craft, barbecue. He didn't know if Hulk finally slept enough or was awakened by the aroma of barbecue. When Rog just baked the first barbecue, Hulk woke up. "Eat something first. You should be hungry by now." After that, Rog handed the barbecue in his hand to Hulk. At this time, Hulk didn't seem to be fully awake. He took the barbecue handed by Rog with confused eyes and instinctively ate it. In the following time, Rog and Hulk didn't speak and silently enjoyed tonight's barbecue dinner. The sizzling sound of the barbecue and the sound of insects in the distance became the only sounds at this time. When the two of them worked together to kill a large amount of barbecue that was enough for more than a dozen strong men to eat, Rog finally said the second sentence of the night. "Do you remember what happened before?" Hulk can see what happened outside. Hulk can't control his body. Perhaps he felt that he lost control again. Hulk's mood was a little low at this time, and there was an unspeakable grievance in his tone. "It's not your fault. Strictly speaking, I'm the main person in charge of this accident. I trapped your consciousness in the illusion space which caused all of this to happen." Looking at Hulk's depressed face, Rog comforted him. At the same time, he picked up 2 cans of cold beer and threw one of them to Hulk, who was sitting opposite him. After opening the beer and taking a sip, he continued to ask, "After I left the illusion space, what happened?" "Hulk refined energy according to the method you taught." Hulk refined gamma energy. But this energy was not controlled by Hulk, and it took over Hulk's body. Hulk tried his best to explain, but he didn't understand why his body was forcibly controlled by gamma energy. "When you refined gamma energy and your body was controlled by gamma energy, did you see a green light door or feel the existence of other consciousness?" This question is very important to Rog. If Hulk really saw the green light or felt the existence of other consciousness, it means that under everything that originally only existed in the parallel universe really appeared. Although this universe is chaotic enough, the appearance of another under everything is not a particularly serious matter. But this kind of extremely troublesome existence, if it cannot appear, it is best not to appear. No, Hulk didn't see the green light door, nor did he feel any other consciousness. Hulk seriously recalled for a moment before replying with absolute certainty. "That's good. That's a good thing." Without the green light door and under everything, there is only one reason why Hulk went berserk before. Chapter 417. Since it was not caused by under everything, then the only reasonable explanation was that Hulk had refined too much gamma energy, causing him to lose control of his body. It was extremely easy to lose control of one's body when there was too much gamma energy in one's body. Such cases of loss of control were not rare. However, whether Hulk's previous loss of control was really related to him refining too much gamma energy, Rog could not give a 100% answer yet. Energy overload may only be one of the reasons for Hulk's loss of control. As for whether there were other secrets behind this loss of control, neither Hulk nor Rog knew for the time being. Can you still refine gamma energy now? You don't have to refine a lot, just a little bit will do, just like this. After saying that, Rog covered his right hand with the light blue chakra, making the chakra look like a light blue flame burning in his palm. Hulk doesn't know, Hulk can try. After experiencing the previous loss of control, Hulk had some instinctive repulsion towards refining gamma energy. But he didn't want to disappoint Rog, so he copied Rog's appearance, raised his huge right hand, and began to refine gamma energy in his body. At this time, Hulk showed a rare cautious expression, looking at his right hand with a serious face. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Time passed little by little, but there was no change in Hulk's raised right hand, neither gamma energy nor green light emitted from it. Rog did not rush Hulk, but patiently waited for the final structure. Hulk worked very hard for more than 20 seconds, but there was still no change in his right hand. Just when Hulk was about to give up, Rog's voice suddenly sounded. "Look at me." Hulk looked at Rog, and his eyes were unconsciously attracted by Rog's 3-tomo Sharingan. Don't try to control it too deliberately, just like breathing, whether you control it or not, your body will instinctively breathe in and out. At this time, Rog was like a psychiatrist, guiding Hulk with a gentle tone. At the same time, he also silently used the hypnotic ability of Sharingan, making Hulk unconsciously enter a hypnotic state. Gamma energy is the energy you were born with. It's like a cell, existing in every corner of your body. It will be like blood, flowing silently through every blood vessel in your body. Usually you can't feel its existence. But when you need it, it will appear immediately to strengthen you and heal your injuries. Feel it, accept it. Just like controlling your own breathing, follow its rhythm and slowly control it. If it wasn't for the fact that they were in the middle of nowhere and that he was facing Hulk, Rog felt that he was like a charlatan trying to trick people into joining an unreliable church. Under Rog's hypnosis and guidance, Hulk gradually relaxed, no longer deliberately refining gamma energy, and no longer repelling the gamma energy that was born with him. Slowly, in Hulk's empty right hand, a faint gas-like gamma energy slowly appeared, and a soft green light lit up little by little. Finally, this gas-like gamma energy converged into a flame-like ionic state, covering Hulk's entire right hand. When Hulk's right hand successfully condensed gamma energy, Rog ended the hypnosis and guidance of Sharingan. Hulk did it, Hulk did it. At first, Hulk looked at the gamma energy on his right hand with some disbelief. After confirming that it was the gamma energy that he had refined and condensed, he said excitedly to Rog, "Yes, you did it." Looking at Hulk, who was like getting a new toy, Rog smiled with relief. In the following time, Rog struck the iron while it was hot and shared with Hulk some of his experience in controlling chakra. 3 days passed in a blink of an eye, and when Hulk thoroughly mastered the technique of refining and controlling gamma energy, Rog took Hulk back to the headquarters of the replicas. After these 3 days of special training, Hulk can finally use the gamma energy in his body as chakra. More importantly, he, who has mastered the method of refining and controlling gamma energy, finally doesn't have to worry about losing control because of gamma energy. As long as he doesn't refine excessive gamma energy that he can't control at once, the previous state of losing control will not happen again. After using the portal magic to bring Hulk back to the headquarters, Rog wanted to directly return to the headquarters of Konoha's intelligence agency. However, before he had time to leave, Tani hurried to him. "Where have you been these days? Did you do the big explosion in the suburbs of New York?" Tani glanced at Hulk, whose appearance hasn't changed, but he always felt a little different, and then asked Rog. "We stayed in a forest for 3 days and gave Hulk some special training. As for the big explosion you mentioned, if there were no other big explosions in the past few days, then the explosion you mentioned was done by me and Hulk." Rog didn't explain to Tani why he and Hulk made such a powerful explosion. This kind of thing, the more he explained, the more complicated it would be. Although Rog didn't directly explain the reason, Tani immediately thought of something, and again looked at Hulk, who felt a little different. "Next time, if you have any special activities, can you let me know first? Do you know what the outside media is saying about the big explosion now? A nuclear attack from an enemy country. They almost described this big explosion as the fuse of World War III. Although Tani was very clear that the explosion had nothing to do with a nuclear attack, the ordinary people and the media didn't think so. especially when the National Security Agency and the military jointly investigated the scene, but no information was released to the public. That was an accident, it shouldn't happen again in the future. Rog didn't dare to guarantee anything to Tani. No one could be sure about such things. Shouldn't? Your answer is really reassuring. Tani said with some dissatisfaction, then continued, about the explosion, I will let the media under my command appease the public, so that they won't be used by some people with ulterior motives. Although Tani didn't say it explicitly, Rog knew that the people with ulterior motives he was talking about were the Skrull people who wanted to see the world in chaos. In addition, the identification device you mentioned has a little problem now. I need a live research subject, if not, a dead one will do. Chapter 418. Rog doesn't have any talent in scientific research and development, but he can be a reliable assistant. No problem, I will get you a living Skrull as soon as possible. After chatting with Tani for a while, Rog opened the portal again and returned to Konoha's intelligence agency headquarters. Compared to 3 days ago, Konoha's HQ looked much better. At least from the outside, the damage wasn't as serious as before. However, to completely repair it, it's obviously not something that can be done in just a few days. This is the damage caused by the accident 3 days ago. As soon as Rog returned to his office, Hinata projected the already calculated details of the disaster. Looking at the dense statistical details projected by Hinata, Rog frowned slightly. Although the damage to Konoha's HQ can't be compared to the explosion in the forest, it still caused huge damage. Not to mention the damage to the building, just the hundreds of people who were accidentally injured gave him a headache. Although there were no deaths, Konoha's search for traces of the Skrull became even more passive due to the injuries of these people. Give these injured people the highest standard of treatment and compensation. I don't want them to have the idea of leaving Konoha because of this accident. Rog didn't hesitate and directly ordered Hinata. After arranging the treatment plan for the injured people, he browsed through the disaster situation of Konoha's HQ. The repair and reconstruction of damaged buildings, the repair and replacement of destroyed equipment, a list of categories constantly passed through his eyes. After looking at the final loss in the hundreds of millions, Rog sighed helplessly. If he knew this would happen, he would never have taught Hulk Hashimantanku in his private practice. Although Konoha isn't short of money now, a string of numbers that look similar to a phone number still makes him feel a burst of heartache. The specific repair and reconstruction work will be done according to your plan. In addition, send the latest instructions to the special forces outside, let them capture a Skrull and bring them back to the HQ without endangering their own safety. If they can't capture a Skrull alive, bring back a Skrull's body. After he issued a public declaration, most of the action personnel in Konoha's headquarters were sent out. Even Daisy, Pietro, and the others were also searching for the whereabouts of the Skrulls. Now, in addition to some necessary security forces, the rest are some logistics and technical personnel. This was also the main reason why he was worried that the injured would think of leaving Konoha. It was common for combatants to be injured so they wouldn't think too much about it. However, it was different for technicians. Their tolerance for injuries was naturally lower. After instructing Hinata, Rog did not intend to continue to stay in the office and directly returned to his room. After living in the wild with Hulk for 3 days, he needed to take care of his personal hygiene and get a good night's sleep. The next morning, after resting all night, he transformed into an ordinary blonde youth and quietly left Konoha's headquarters. Although Daisy and Pietro were now searching for the whereabouts of the Skrulls outside, they didn't have a special identification device, so it was difficult for them to find the whereabouts of the Skrulls in a short time. In order to solve the problem that Tani encountered in the development of the device as soon as possible, he could only choose to do it himself. After transforming into an ordinary person, he didn't choose to look for the Skrulls in Washington, but instead came to New York. After using quantum transmission to reach the top of a building, he took a deep breath, then used chakra perception. Different races have different life energy signals. Even if the Skrulls can transform into the appearance of the Earthlings, their life energy signal can't be exactly the same as the Earthlings. Of course, the above is only his guess. Before finding the real Skrulls, he can't be 100% sure that his guess is correct. Even the Carey Empire that destroyed the Skrulls' home planet couldn't easily distinguish the transformed Skrulls. Therefore, the transformation of the Skrulls may not have such an obvious weakness. Although sensing life energy is a relatively rare ability, it's not to the point that the Carey Empire's technology can't reach. It wasn't an easy task to detect a Skrull hiding in an unknown location in an international metropolis with a population of nearly 10 million, especially when he doesn't know what kind of life energy signal the transformed Skrulls have. Time passed little by little. Rog continuously expanded his sensing range from the inside to the outside, trying to find the Skrulls hiding in the crowd. However, after trying for nearly an hour, he helplessly ended his sensing. He can't sense anything. Apart from the special life energy signals he already knew, he didn't find any abnormalities. Perhaps there were some minor anomalies, but in such a large area of general perception, these minor anomalies were directly ignored by him. Even if his chakra can support it, he doesn't have that much time to carefully sense the people one by one. Even if he only needed 1 second to sense a life energy signal with the current population of New York, he would need nearly 10 million seconds. That's 2,770 hours, a total of 100 days. His wish to use the difference in life energy signals to quickly find the Skrulls has been dashed. In that case, the only thing left for him was to roll his eyes at her. However, compared to Chakra's sensing range, Supercilious Eye's range is much smaller. A radius of 10 kilometers. This is the maximum range that Supercilious Eye can reach. Beyond this range, his X-ray vision will significantly decrease, to the point where he can't even see through clothes. More importantly, he doesn't really want to use Supercilious Eye's X-ray vision to search for the Skrulls. If he used Supercilious Eye's X-ray vision to search for the Skrulls, it would mean that he would have to see through every person's body. Although he can control his X-ray vision to the extent that he can directly see through the body, but no matter what, this kind of act of looking at a person's internal organs is very perverted and disgusting. Simply put, he can't get past his psychological barrier. To look or not to look, that's the question. After seriously considering it for a few minutes, in order to ensure his psychological health, he finally gave up on the idea of using Supercilious Eye. It's fine if it's just a few people, but there are so many people in New York, if he has to look through them one by one, he might as well just kill himself. At least this way he can die with an untainted brain. Chapter 419. Brooklyn, in a camouflaged vehicle downstairs of an old-fashioned building. Is there really a Skrull hiding here? Pietro, wearing a special light blue combat uniform, whispered to Daisy next to him. According to the investigation of the Intelligence Department and Hinata's analysis, the target is more than 80% likely to be a Skrull. After saying that, Daisy handed a custom-made tablet to Pietro. On the screen of the tablet, there is a middle-aged man who looks inconspicuous, a bald middle-aged man with a huge beer belly. From his appearance alone, this man named John is a slovenly middle-aged man who lives alone and has been unemployed for a long time. However, according to the analysis of Konoha's Intelligence Department and Hinata, this inconspicuous John is likely to be a Skrull in disguise. Although Tani hasn't invented a device to identify Skrulls yet, this doesn't mean that Konoha will wait in vain during this time. By analyzing John's behavior and comparing it with his previous life and habits, Konoha's Intelligence Department made an evaluation that John is suspected to be a Skrull. This evaluation of the Intelligence Department was further analyzed and confirmed by Hinata, and she obtained the same result. Then what are we waiting for? Pietro's superpower is super speed, and his personality is similar to his superpower. He's a guy who can't calm down, waiting for his friends to come. At this time, Daisy was wearing the black special combat uniform of Konoha's Intelligence Department, and her whole body exuded a serious aura. Before Pietro joined Konoha, Daisy was a member of the Special Combat Team. When she joined the Special Forces, she even rejected Roger's arrangement and started from the lowest level of the Special Forces. Even under such circumstances, she was still promoted to the position of captain of the Special Forces through her military exploits. The team that is acting with her now is the Special Combat Team that she led at the beginning. In addition to Daisy and Pietro leading the Special Combat Team to look for Skrulls outside, Punisher, Abomination, Moonstone, Red Tank, and others are also leading the Special Combat Team outside. At present, only Venom and Xiaohei are acting alone. Venom has Eddie as his partner, so he doesn't need other teammates. Blackie, on the other hand, simply did not like to be used by others. Other than Rog, he had no interest in becoming someone else's weapon, so he also chose to act alone. His friend is also from Skrull? Pietro asked. I'm not sure. It could be a friend of John's real identity, or it could be a friend disguised as John's friend. The Intelligence Department is currently analyzing the situation, but due to the incident at the headquarters, the speed of the analysis is much slower. Speaking of the accident at the headquarters, Daisy and Pietro looked at each other helplessly. As soon as the accident happened, they received a message from Hinata, knowing that the accident was caused by Rog and Hulk. Rog is really something. He usually looks like a very steady person, but he always likes to do dangerous things. Recalling what Rog had done before, Pietro couldn't help but complain. It's not a good habit to talk behind someone's back. You won't be able to find a girlfriend if you keep doing this. As soon as Pietro finished speaking, Rog's voice came from behind him, startling him. No, I didn't. Pietro quickly explained and turned around to look behind him. No. Why are you here? Didn't Hinata say that you took Hulk outside? Pietro immediately changed the topic. I came back yesterday. Chakra's perception didn't work, and he didn't want to look at other people's internal organs one by one, so he used the Flying Thunder God to sense Daisy and Pietro, who were also in New York. Daisy and Pietro still have the Flying Thor jutsu he left on them. After returning to Earth, he didn't have time to remove the jutsu on them. He would never admit that he had completely forgotten about this matter. After all, after practicing in Konoha's hidden village on Tatooine for half a year, he didn't remember leaving jutsu on Daisy and Pietro. If he hadn't sensed these two Flying Thor jutsu when he used Chakra's perception just now, he wouldn't have remembered it at all. After seeing Rog's arrival, the Special Forces members standing behind Daisy and Pietro saluted Rog for the first time. Rog is no stranger to these Special Forces members, and he can even call out each of their names. When Konoha's intelligence agency was first established, Konoha only had a little more than 100 Special Forces members. However, by now, Konoha's Special Forces members have developed to more than 200 people. Even the Umbu directly under him has developed from more than 30 people to more than 60 people. Whether it is these Special Forces members or the Umbu members, they have all been transformed by extremists. Therefore, on their bodies, there is the ultimate seal of the tongue bane placed by Rog. Facing the salute of these Special Forces members, Rog can only helplessly return a salute. How is the situation now? Rog quickly withdrew his gaze from the Special Forces members and asked Daisy, the captain. The one above, there is an 80% chance that he is a Scrooge and he has a friend who may also be a Scrooge, so we plan to wait for them to meet before we act. Daisy quickly explained, and motioned for Pietro to hand the tablet in his hand to Rog. Room 703. Glancing at the location noted on the screen, Rog opened his Byakugan in front of Daisy and Pietro. Byakugan, activate. In an instant, the blue veins next to his eyes bulged and Rog's white eyes became even weirder. Don't look at me like that, this is my new ability. While speaking, Rog wanted to look directly at room 703 of the building, but when his eyes appeared on Daisy, he unconsciously turned on his X-ray vision. Red, damn it. What am I thinking? After realizing that something was wrong, Rog immediately turned off the X-ray vision of Byakugan and turned his head to look outside. What is this new ability? Rog deliberately omitted the explanation of Byakugan's ability, but Pietro asked immediately. This allows me to see the enemy's attack more clearly. He must not tell them that Byakugan has the ability to see through things, absolutely not. See the enemy's attack clearly? This sounds no different from your previous red eyes. Pietro showed a "that's it" expression. The difference is big, you are still young, you don't understand this, I don't blame you. Rog cut off this topic in time. Chapter 420. In order to prevent Pietro from asking awkward questions, Rog didn't stay in the camouflaged mobile vehicle for too long. He used quantum teleportation and teleported from the car to the roof of the target building. I feel like his eyes are a little weird. He must be hiding something from us. Pietro voiced his opinion. I have the same feeling. When Rog looked at her with supercilious eyes, Daisy suddenly had a feeling that she was completely seen through, as if she wasn't wearing any clothes at all. As a woman, Daisy had an unreasonable intuition in this regard. After teleporting to the rooftop, Roger calmed himself down. At the same time, an idea popped up in his mind. I'm an experienced veteran, how can I still have this kind of panic? This doesn't make sense. Could this be the so-called stimulation of peeping? Rog's thoughts began to wander uncontrollably in his mind. After dozens of inappropriate images unconsciously appeared in his mind, he reacted again. Damn it, it's not over yet, is it? With a thought, he mobilized chakra in his body and let chakra stimulate his brain. In an instant, the wild thoughts in his mind vanished, and what replaced them was a feeling of seeing through the world of mortals, as if the world was nothing but an illusion. After completely calming down, he stood on the roof and focused his gaze on room 703 where John lived. Messy. This was Rog's first reaction after seeing room 703 with supercilious eyes. In this room that seemed to be non-existent, he saw the target of Daisy and the others' operation, the bald middle-aged man named John. After further adjusting the degree of supercilious eyes penetration, he directly saw through John's internal structure. Although Rog was not a professional doctor, after killing so many people with his own hands, he still had a good understanding of the internal structure of the human body on Earth. The first second he saw through John's body, he could basically confirm that this man named John was the legendary Skrull. Although his appearance was no different from an Earthling, his internal structure was completely different from that of a human. I finally found you. After confirming John's identity, he put on the headset he had just gotten from the train and told Daisy and the others about his discovery. Since John was a Skrull, his friend Alan was most likely a Skrull as well. With these two Skrulls and Tani's intelligence, it wouldn't take long for him to invent a device that could identify Skrulls. Then, it was a beautiful pursuit and killing operation. While waiting for the other Skrull, Rog carefully sensed John's life energy signal. Compared to humans on Earth, the Skrull's life energy signal was more than 95% similar. If one didn't sense it carefully, it would be easy to overlook it. After thoroughly studying the life energy signal of the Skrulls, he dispelled Chakra's sensing ability and patiently waited for Alan's arrival. He didn't know if these Skrulls generally didn't have a sense of time, or if only this Skrull named Alan was like this. After blowing the cool breeze on the roof for about half an hour, the Skrull named Alan finally arrived at John's house. Unlike the greasy John, Alan's human appearance was clearly much better. His body was well proportioned and straight, his hair was lush and clean, and his clothes were neat and tidy. More importantly, this Alan's face was handsome enough and younger. He looked like a college student who had just graduated. When Alan and John stood together, it was like a contrast between a pretty boy and a wretched uncle, like a strong contrast in a postmodern oil painting. Of course, this was Rog's personal opinion. After all, to the Skrulls, appearance wasn't important at all. As long as they wanted to, they could change into any appearance. Let's move. Since Alan and John didn't look like super Skrulls, Rog didn't plan to personally take action. He handed the task of capturing them to Daisy and the others who had been waiting downstairs for a long time. At this moment, Alan and John were completely unaware of the approaching danger. Now they were talking in Skrull, which Rog couldn't understand at all. Although Rog, who was standing on the roof, couldn't hear their conversation, judging from their mouths, what they were saying now was not the Earth language he was familiar with. A few minutes later, the special forces led by Daisy came to the door of John's room, and like a group of wolves hunting for food, they made the final preparations before the attack without saying a word. What happened next was basically staged like a written script. Breaking the door, suppressing, attacking, subduing, handcuffing, in front of 6 Special Forces members who had been modified by extremists, as well as Daisy and Pietro, who had superpowers, the 2 ordinary Skrulls only lasted a few seconds before they were completely subdued. Then they were handcuffed, put on a pure black hood, and directly escorted to the mobile car downstairs. When the camouflage train was completely away from the block, Rog left the roof with the Flying Thunder God and teleported to the mobile car. I will take these 2 guys directly to the Avengers headquarters, you guys take a break and then continue to perform other tasks. After speaking, Rog grabbed the shoulders of the 2 Skrulls and used quantum transmission. The reason why he didn't choose to use portal magic is because using portal magic in a moving vehicle is no different from directly cutting the vehicle. Portal is a fixed space entrance and exit, and it will not change its space coordinates because of the movement of the vehicle. At this point, quantum transmission is undoubtedly more suitable. A brilliant aurora-like light lit up in the car. Then the light disappeared and Rog and the 2 Skrulls also disappeared. Because he didn't know where Tani's laboratory was located at the Avengers headquarters, Rog chose to teleport to Tani's office this time. At this time, Tani was reviewing the information sent back by the action team secretly dispatched by the Avengers in his office. However, in the next second, a brilliant aurora-like light appeared in his office out of thin air. The research subjects you want, I brought them to you. Before Tani realized what was going on, Rog took off the hood on Alan and John's heads. They're Skrulls? Are you sure you didn't catch the wrong people? After carefully observing Alan and John, Tani asked with some uncertainty. Of course I'm sure. As soon as his voice fell, Rog took out a flying Thor kunai with his right hand and slashed across Alan and John's arms like lightning. Purple blood that was completely different from that of the Earthlings slowly flowed out of the wound. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.